If you don't subscribe to the channel, all the stories will happen to you. Get ready for the nightmare. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden glow over the small suburban neighborhood where Olivia lived. She stood in her backyard, captivated by the vibrant colors painting the sky, hues of orange, pink, and purple blending seamlessly into one another. It was one of those evenings when everything felt perfect, yet something in the air felt different. As Olivia breathed in the crisp evening air, a sudden gust of wind rustled the leaves of the old oak tree that stood sentinel in the corner of her yard. It was a familiar sound, yet this time, it seemed to carry a voice, a soft, almost melodic whisper that sent a chill down her spine. She paused, her heart racing as she strained to hear. Just the wind, she reassured herself, shaking off the unsettling feeling. Perhaps it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. She had always loved the wind, the way it danced through the trees, but this felt different, charged with an energy that made her skin tingle. Maybe I'm just tired, Olivia thought, dismissing the feeling as she turned to head inside. Yet, as she took a step away from the yard, she couldn't shake the sensation that the breeze had something to say, something meant only for her. That night, she lay in bed, the whispers echoing in her mind, each sound distinct yet elusive. Curiosity gnawed at her, urging her to explore the origins of the whispers. What did they mean? Were they just a figment of her imagination, or was there something more? The wind howled outside her window, and for the first time, she felt a sense of unease. It was as if it were trying to communicate something vital, but the message remained just out of reach. As Olivia drifted off to sleep, the whispers intertwined with her dreams, blurring the line between reality and the unknown. The days turned into weeks, and each evening, Olivia found herself drawn to the backyard as dusk fell. The whispering wind became a ritual, a part of her routine she couldn't ignore. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of indigo and violet, Olivia would sit on the worn wooden swing beneath the oak tree, waiting, listening. One evening, as she swayed gently back and forth, she closed her eyes, letting the soft breeze caress her face. The whispers came again, clearer this time, swirling around her like an enchanting melody. It was as if the wind were trying to convey a message, urging her to pay attention. Olivia, it seemed to call, though the name was just a breath of air, almost a sigh carried on the wind. Her heart raced at the sound. "Is someone there?" she called out hesitantly, glancing around the empty yard. Of course, no one replied. But the rustling leaves seemed to respond, their whispers growing more urgent. That night, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was happening. The whispers became more pronounced with each passing evening, and she began to notice that they seemed to correspond with events from her day. A gentle breeze would caress her cheeks when she felt anxious about a test, and a stronger gust would envelop her when she laughed, as if the wind shared in her joy. But with each whisper, a sense of foreboding crept in. The evening after she had experienced a troubling day at school, the whispers were laden with urgency. They swirled around her, almost begging her to understand something she couldn't quite grasp. Determined to uncover the mystery, Olivia decided to keep a journal. Each night, she would write down her thoughts, the whispers she'd heard, and the emotions they evoked. As she wrote, she began to notice patterns. There was an uncanny correlation between her feelings and the wind's whispers. One night, as she flipped through her journal, Olivia's heart raced at the thought of what it could mean. Was the wind trying to guide her? Or was it merely a reflection of her own thoughts? Maybe if I just listen a little harder, she thought, her resolve strengthening. She couldn't shake the feeling that the wind was trying to warn her about something. As she drifted off to sleep, she felt the cool breeze slip through her window, a gentle reminder that she was not alone in her journey. Olivia awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency lingering in her chest. The whispers of the wind had woven themselves into her dreams, and she felt compelled to delve deeper into their meaning. With her journal at her side, she scribbled down her thoughts, eager to capture every detail of the strange connection she felt with the unseen forces around her. After school, Olivia returned home with a determination that had never before coursed through her veins. She wanted to uncover the source of the whispers, to understand why they seemed to resonate so deeply with her emotions. The backyard had become a sanctuary, a space where she felt safe to explore the mysteries that seemed to unfold with each passing day. That evening, as dusk painted the sky in hues of blue and silver, she settled into her familiar spot on the swing. The wind picked up slightly, its whispers swirling around her like a warm embrace. Olivia closed her eyes, allowing the sounds to wash over her. This time, she focused intently, seeking a deeper understanding. "Listen," it seemed to say, a gentle yet insistent plea that felt almost human. "Look closer." She took a deep breath and opened her eyes, scanning her surroundings for anything out of the ordinary. The oak tree, the fence, the flower beds, they all appeared the same as ever. Yet, the whispers grew louder, as if urging her to notice something specific. Then, she spotted it, a small, worn-out wooden box partially hidden beneath the roots of the oak tree. It was almost as if the tree had sheltered it, protecting it from the world. Olivia felt a shiver of excitement run down her spine. What secrets did it hold? Heart pounding, she leaped off the swing and approached the box. It was covered in dirt and leaves, the wood weathered and aged, but there was an undeniable allure to it. She knelt beside the tree, brushing away the debris to reveal the intricate carvings on the box's surface, swirls and symbols that seemed to tell a story of their own. Olivia's fingers trembled as she reached for the latch, her mind racing with possibilities. What could be inside? Would it contain answers to the whispers that had haunted her nights? With a quick flick, she opened the box, revealing a collection of old letters, their edges frayed and yellowed with age. As she carefully pulled out the first letter, a cool breeze rushed past her, almost like a sigh of relief from the wind. The handwriting was elegant yet faint, and she could barely make out the words. She held the letter closer, squinting to read the faded ink. "To whomever finds this, know that the whispers of the wind carry the weight of unspoken words." Her heart raced as she read on, each sentence drawing her deeper into the mystery. The letter spoke of lost love, regrets, and the yearning for connection beyond the grave. It was clear that these were not just ordinary letters. They were fragments of someone's life, whispering secrets into the wind. The urgency of the whispers intensified, and Olivia realized that the wind was trying to convey the same message. It was urging her to understand the stories of those who had come before her, to honor their memories. The connection between the past and present was woven through the very air she breathed. With each letter she unfolded, Olivia felt a mix of emotions: sadness for the lives once lived and joy for the wisdom they imparted. As the last rays of sunlight faded, she knew she had stumbled upon something significant, something that would change her life forever. The night after discovering the letters, Olivia could hardly sleep. The whispers of the wind had transformed into a symphony of voices, echoing in her mind as she read through the contents of the mysterious box. Each letter contained a piece of a puzzle, a fragment of someone's life begging to be understood. But the more she read, the more she realized she needed to act. The story she uncovered felt like a call to adventure, but what would it entail? The following evening, as the sun set, Olivia returned to her backyard, clutching the letters close to her heart. She knew she couldn't keep these revelations to herself. She needed to share them with someone. Yet, a nagging doubt crept in. Who would believe her? What if they thought she was just a girl making up stories about the wind? Determined, she decided to confide in her best friend Mia. They had shared countless secrets and adventures, and Olivia hoped that together they could unravel the mystery of the letters. As she sat on the swing, she waited for Mia to arrive, the whispers swirling around her like a cloak of anticipation. When Mia finally arrived, her cheerful demeanor brought a smile to Olivia's face. "What's up, Liv? You look like you've seen a ghost," she teased, plopping down on the grass beside her. "I found something incredible," Olivia began, her voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "You won't believe it." With every detail she shared, Mia's expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. As Olivia unfolded the letters, Mia leaned closer, captivated by the words that spoke of love, loss, and longing. The two girls were lost in the stories, their imaginations running wild as they speculated about the lives behind the letters. But just as Olivia began to feel a sense of camaraderie in their exploration, A sharp gust of wind rushed through the backyard, knocking the letters from her hands. They fluttered away like startled birds, scattering across the lawn. Olivia gasped, scrambling to collect them before they were lost forever. Wow, it's like the wind doesn't want us to read them. Mia joked, trying to lighten the mood, but Olivia felt a chill creep up her spine. The whispers had turned into an unsettling wail, echoing around them as if warning her to stop. I don't know, Mia. It feels like the wind is trying to tell me something, Olivia admitted, her heart racing. Mia's brow furrowed. Maybe we should take a break? This is all a bit creepy, Liv. Olivia hesitated, torn between her desire to continue and the dread that hung in the air. But what if we're supposed to find out more? What if these letters are important? Just then, a sudden snap echoed through the backyard. A branch from the oak tree broke off and crashed to the ground mere feet away from them. The girls jumped, their hearts racing. This was no ordinary evening. Okay, maybe it is time to go inside, Mia said, backing away cautiously. Olivia felt a wave of frustration. She wanted to push through, to unravel the mystery, but the unexpected turn of events sent a clear message. There were forces at play that she didn't fully understand. Reluctantly, they retreated indoors, the whispers fading into the night. As Olivia lay in bed, her mind raced with questions. Had she misinterpreted the wind's warning? Was she meant to turn back? The adventure she had longed for was quickly turning into a challenge, one that demanded courage and resilience. In the following days, Olivia found herself caught in a tug-of-war between curiosity and fear. The letters still called to her, their stories unresolved, but the wind's warning echoed louder in her mind. Would she find the strength to confront whatever mystery lay ahead? The tension in Olivia's heart lingered throughout the week, a persistent knot that refused to loosen. Each day felt longer than the last, as she weighed her desire to uncover the truth against the eerie warnings of the wind. Mia had been hesitant to discuss the letters further, and Olivia felt increasingly isolated in her quest for answers. Determined to press on, Olivia spent her evenings poring over the letters, taking meticulous notes in her journal. Each piece of correspondence painted a picture of a life filled with love, heartache, and the yearning for connection. She felt as though she had been entrusted with a sacred duty to uncover the stories hidden within those fragile pages. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Olivia stood in front of the oak tree, clutching her journal tightly. The wind swirled around her, almost as if it were encouraging her to move forward. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the brink of something significant. Okay, let's do this, she whispered to herself, steeling her resolve. I need to know what happened. With that thought in mind, Olivia decided to visit the local library the following day to dig deeper into the history of her neighborhood. The library was an ancient brick building with tall windows that seemed to watch over the town like a silent guardian. It was a treasure trove of stories and secrets, and Olivia hoped to find answers buried within its shelves. As she entered the library, the familiar scent of aged paper and leather-bound books enveloped her. She felt a sense of calm wash over her as she navigated the aisles, searching for any records related to her neighborhood's history. After hours of sifting through dusty tomes, she stumbled upon an old newspaper article tucked between the pages of a book about local folklore. Her heart raced as she read the headline, "Tragedy Strikes, Mysterious Disappearances in Elmwood." The article recounted a series of strange events in the neighborhood decades earlier. People going missing without a trace, their homes abandoned, and their lives seemingly erased. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. This was the story behind the whispers, a link to the letters she had discovered. The article mentioned a family that had lived in her very neighborhood, a family that had suffered the loss of a child, believed to have been taken by the very winds that whispered through the oak tree. As Olivia continued reading, she learned about the anguish of the parents, their desperate attempts to find their child, and the eerie connection to the whispers that echoed through the town. Could this be why the wind is speaking to me? Olivia wondered, her mind racing with possibilities. Am I connected to this family somehow? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden clang of the library door swinging open. A gust of wind rushed in, sending papers flying and causing Olivia to look up. In walked a woman, her hair a wild tangle, and her eyes darting around the library as if searching for something lost. "Are you okay?" Olivia asked, a mix of concern and curiosity bubbling up inside her. The woman turned her gaze to Olivia, and for a moment, their eyes locked. There was a spark of recognition, as if the two were connected in some inexplicable way. "I'm fine, dear," the woman replied, her voice shaky but warm. "Just looking for answers." "Answers about what?" Olivia inquired, intrigued. "The wind," the woman said, her expression serious. "It holds secrets, you know. It carries the whispers of those who have come before us. Have you felt it?" Olivia nodded, her heart racing. "Yes, I've been hearing whispers in my backyard." The woman's eyes widened in surprise. "You're not alone then. The wind has chosen you." Before Olivia could respond, the woman rushed past her, heading deeper into the library. Olivia felt a surge of determination. Perhaps this woman had the knowledge she needed to understand the connection between the letters, the whispers, and the tragic history of her neighborhood. She followed the woman, navigating through the aisles until she found her standing in front of a dusty shelf filled with old journals and records. "What do you know about the whispers?" Olivia asked, desperation creeping into her voice. The woman glanced at her, and for a moment, Olivia saw a flicker of something. Fear, or perhaps sorrow. "They're warnings. They tell us to pay attention, to remember. If you're hearing them, it means you have a role to play." "What do you mean?" Olivia pressed, her heart pounding. "There are still unresolved stories," the woman said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You must uncover them before it's too late." Olivia felt a chill wash over her. The weight of the woman's words pressed down on her, but deep inside, she knew she had to follow this path. She had to find the truth behind the whispers and the letters, no matter the cost. Olivia's heart raced as she stood before the mysterious woman in the library. The air crackled with tension, and her mind swirled with questions. Who was this woman, and what did she know about the whispers? What stories remained untold? "Can you help me?" Olivia asked, her voice steady despite the chaos within. "I need to understand what's happening." The woman studied her for a moment, her gaze penetrating as if she were weighing Olivia's determination. "You must be cautious," she warned. "The wind does not give its secrets easily, and it can be both a guide and a trickster." "Please," Olivia pressed, a sense of urgency driving her. "I've found letters that speak of a family who suffered a tragedy here. I think it's connected to the whispers I hear." At the mention of the letters, the woman's expression shifted, revealing a flicker of recognition. "The lost child," she murmured, almost to herself. "It's been decades since anyone spoke of it." "What happened to the child?" Olivia demanded, desperation creeping into her voice. The woman hesitated, glancing around the library as if ensuring they were alone. "There are things better left buried," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "But if you're willing to listen, I can share what I know. Just know that uncovering the past comes with risks." Olivia nodded, resolve hardening within her. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead. "Tell me everything." The woman led Olivia to a secluded corner of the library, where the dim light cast long shadows across the walls. She produced a weathered notebook from her bag, its pages filled with notes and sketches. "This is my grandmother's journal," she explained. "She was a part of this community when the tragedies occurred. She chronicled everything she could find about the family and the whispers of the wind." As Olivia pored over the journal, she felt a mix of emotions. The entries spoke of the Thompson family, who had lived in a nearby house, a home that had once been filled with laughter and warmth. But that joy had been shattered when their young daughter, Lily, mysteriously disappeared. The community had searched tirelessly, but the child was never found. "The whispers began shortly after her disappearance," the woman explained. "People believed the wind carried her voice, calling for help. My grandmother believed it was a warning, a reminder that some stories are left unfinished." Olivia's mind raced. "Do you think Lily's spirit is trying to communicate with me?" "It's possible," the woman replied, her gaze serious. "The wind often seeks those who are sensitive to its whispers. You must tread carefully. It can lead you to truths you may not be ready to face." With each word, the sense of urgency grew within Olivia. She felt the weight of Lily's story pressing on her shoulders, a silent plea for resolution. "How can I help?" Olivia asked, her determination solidified. "You must confront the past," the woman instructed. Find the place where Lily was last seen. You may uncover clues that will help bring closure to her story. But remember, the wind will guide you, and it may also test you. As Olivia absorbed the woman's words, a chill ran down her spine. The stakes had risen dramatically. She had stumbled upon a dark chapter in her neighborhood's history, and the ghosts of the past were demanding her attention. The woman placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder, grounding her in the moment. Trust your instincts and listen closely to the whispers. They may lead you to unexpected places. When Olivia left the library, the sky was painted in shades of orange and purple, a reminder that time was slipping away. She felt a surge of determination coursing through her veins. There was no turning back now. She would find Lily, and she would uncover the truth behind the whispers that haunted her nights. Over the next few days, Olivia gathered her courage and prepared for the journey ahead. She spent time with Mia, trying to distract herself from the growing sense of foreboding. However, the wind's whispers were ever present, growing more insistent as she approached the day she planned to visit the Thompson house. The night before her planned expedition, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. As she lay in bed, she felt the wind howling outside, its cries echoing through her window like a mournful song. It was as if the air itself was alive, urging her to heed its call. In the early hours of the morning, Olivia awoke to a soft tapping on her window. Startled, she glanced outside but saw nothing unusual. Yet the wind whispered a familiar refrain, wrapping around her like a shroud. The pull to seek the truth grew stronger. As dawn broke, Olivia steeled herself for what lay ahead. She couldn't ignore the path that had been laid before her. With the journal clutched tightly in her hands and a heart full of determination, she set out toward the Thompson house, ready to face whatever obstacles awaited her. As Olivia approached the Thompson house, a mixture of trepidation and excitement swirled within her. The home loomed ahead, shrouded in the early morning fog, its once vibrant facade now faded and weathered. Ivy crept up the walls like fingers grasping at memories long forgotten. This was the place where Lily had last been seen, a threshold between the living and the echoes of the past. With each step toward the entrance, Olivia felt the wind pick up, swirling around her like a protective barrier. She paused at the front door, its wood warped and worn, and took a deep breath. This was a moment of reckoning. The letters, the whispers, and the mysterious woman from the library had all led her here. She pushed the door open, and it creaked in protest, revealing a dimly lit hallway that smelled of dust and despair. Inside, the house felt alive with the energy of its past. Shadows danced in the corners, and the air was thick with the stories that clung to the walls. Olivia stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest as she ventured further. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the whispers of the wind seeping through the cracks. As she explored the first floor, Olivia stumbled upon a small room that appeared to have once been a playroom. Toys lay scattered on the floor, coated in a layer of dust. A faded rocking horse sat in one corner, its paint chipped and peeling. This was where Lily had played, where her laughter had once echoed. With a shiver, Olivia knelt down to examine the toys. Among the scattered belongings, she noticed a small, delicate doll, its porcelain face cracked, but its eyes still gleaming with an eerie life. It felt familiar somehow, as if it had been waiting for her to find it. Lily, Olivia whispered, a name that echoed in the silence. The wind gusted through the room, rustling the curtains and sending a chill down her spine. She sensed the spirit of the little girl lingering, urging her to uncover the truth. Determined to delve deeper, Olivia moved upstairs, her footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Each room she entered revealed remnants of a life interrupted. A child's bedroom filled with tattered books, a forgotten nursery adorned with faded wallpaper depicting cheerful animals. It was a haunting reminder of the love that had once filled this home. In the master bedroom, Olivia's eyes were drawn to a weathered chest at the foot of the bed. Heart racing, she approached it and lifted the lid, revealing a trove of forgotten memories, family photographs, letters, and a beautifully bound journal. With trembling hands, she carefully pulled out the journal, its cover embossed with the initials LT. As she opened the pages, Olivia realized it belonged to Lily. The entries were filled with childlike innocence, detailing her dreams, adventures, and the friendships she cherished. But the final entries held a different tone, words of confusion and fear, hinting at a darkness that crept into her life. "Help me," one entry read. "The wind is calling, but I don't want to go. I want to stay with my family." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as she read the words. It was a cry for help from beyond the grave, a desperate plea that transcended time. The wind howled outside, almost as if it were responding to Lily's words. Suddenly, the air shifted, and Olivia felt a rush of cold envelop her. She glanced around the room, her heart pounding as the whispers grew louder, swirling around her like a tempest. The shadows deepened, and she sensed a presence, a child's spirit, restless and seeking closure. "Lily," Olivia called out, her voice trembling. "Are you here?" The whispers intensified, wrapping around her like an embrace. The sensation was both comforting and unnerving. "You've come," a small voice echoed in her mind, a gentle whisper carried by the wind. "Please help me." "What do you need?" Olivia asked, desperate to understand. "Find my toy," the voice urged. "It's buried where no one can see. It holds the key." The wind swirled fiercely around her, and Olivia felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. She had to act quickly. "Where is it?" she urged, her heart racing. "In the garden," the voice replied softly, the winds carrying the words through the house like a haunting melody. "In the place where the flowers bloom." With newfound determination, Olivia raced back downstairs and out the front door, the echoes of the past guiding her. She dashed into the overgrown garden, the wildflowers swaying in the wind as if urging her on. Olivia knelt down, her hands digging into the earth, heart pounding with anticipation. The whispers grew louder, guiding her movements. As she unearthed clumps of dirt and roots, she felt something solid beneath her fingers, a small, wooden box. With trembling hands, she pulled it from the ground. Dusting it off, she noticed intricate carvings adorning its surface, flowers and vines, delicate and beautiful. Her breath caught as she realized this must be Lily's toy, the missing piece that held the key to the mystery. As she opened the box, a soft glow emanated from within. Inside lay a small, intricately carved figure of a girl, holding a flower in her hand. It was a perfect likeness of the doll Olivia had seen in the playroom. But something else caught her eye, a delicate piece of paper, folded neatly beside the figure. Olivia unfolded the note, her heart racing as she read the words. "To whoever finds this, know that I am not lost. I am waiting for my family to remember me. The wind will guide you to the truth." The wind picked up again, swirling around her, as if celebrating the discovery. Olivia understood now. This was more than just a toy. It was a symbol of hope, a bridge between the past and present. She had been chosen to bring Lily's story to light, to help heal the wounds of the past. With the wooden figure and the note in her possession, Olivia felt a sense of purpose coursing through her veins. She had unearthed not just a toy, but a pathway to understanding the true nature of the whispers and the mystery surrounding Lily's disappearance. As she made her way back toward the house, the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the path ahead. The whispers of the wind began to transform, no longer a haunting wail, but a soft, encouraging lullaby. Olivia knew she was on the brink of a revelation, one that would not only help Lily find peace, but would also change her life forever. With the wooden figure and the note securely tucked in her bag, Olivia felt an exhilarating mix of hope and anxiety. She had uncovered the key to Lily's story, but she knew that the revelation would only be the beginning of her journey. The whispers had guided her thus far, but she could sense that the wind held even deeper secrets waiting to be uncovered. Determined to confront the past and its lingering shadows, Olivia made her way back to the Thompson house. The air felt charged, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The wind whispered around her, echoing with promises and warnings, as if urging her to press forward. As she entered the house once more, the familiar creaks of the floorboards resonated in her ears, but this time, the energy felt different. The oppressive silence that had once enveloped the space was now punctuated by the soft rustling of the wind, guiding her toward the heart of the mystery. With renewed determination, Olivia ascended the stairs once more, clutching the wooden figure. She headed straight to the playroom, the room that had held so much of Lily's essence. The whispers grew louder as she approached, swirling around her in a symphony of encouragement. Olivia set the carved figure down on the dusty shelf where she had found the porcelain doll. "This is for you, Lily," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "You deserve to be remembered." The wind surged through the room, causing the curtains to billow wildly as if responding to her words. A chill swept through the air, and Olivia felt a sudden shift in energy. It was as if the very spirit of the house had come alive, responding to the presence of the wooden figure. Suddenly, the whispers coalesced into a voice, clear and resonant. "Thank you," it echoed, carrying the weight of years of sorrow and longing. "You've brought me home." Olivia's heart raced as she realized that she was no longer just an observer. She was a conduit for Lily's spirit, a vessel through which the past could finally find peace. "What do you need from me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. "Help them remember," Lily's voice urged, tinged with both urgency and sadness. "They've forgotten me, but the truth lies in their hearts. You must show them the way." A wave of determination washed over Olivia. She understood now that her journey was not just about uncovering Lily's past. It was about rekindling the memories of those who had loved her, about bringing closure to a family torn apart by loss. "I will," Olivia vowed, her resolve strengthening. "I will help them remember." As she stood in the playroom, the energy around her pulsed with intensity. The whispers guided her thoughts, urging her to think of the Thompson family, the mother, the father, the siblings who had lived in this house, each carrying the weight of grief and confusion. They needed to confront their pain, to rediscover the joy that had once filled their lives. With the wind swirling around her, Olivia rushed down the stairs and out of the house. She felt a sense of urgency as she made her way through the neighborhood, her heart set on finding the Thompson family. Olivia knew she had to reach out to the current residents of the house, the ones who had likely never heard the stories of their predecessors. She remembered the woman from the library, who might have connections to the family, and she hurried back to the community center where she had first met her. Bursting through the doors, she scanned the room, her eyes locking onto the woman. "I found something," Olivia exclaimed, breathless. "I found Lily's toy." The whispers, they led me to her. "But now I need your help to bring her family together." The woman looked up, surprise etching her features. "You've made a connection?" she asked, her voice steadying with curiosity. "Yes," Olivia nodded eagerly, pulling out the wooden figure and the note from her bag. "We need to show them what happened, to remind them of their daughter. The wind, it's calling them to remember." The woman studied the wooden figure with a somber expression, the weight of history heavy in the air. "You're right. This story cannot remain buried. We must find a way to reach out to them." As they began to formulate a plan, Olivia felt the whispers growing louder, the wind swirling around them with urgency. She knew time was of the essence. The Thompson family needed to face their past, and she was determined to be the catalyst for that healing. That evening, they organized a small gathering at the community center, inviting those who had known the Thompsons. Olivia felt a surge of hope as people began to trickle in, their faces a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. She could sense the weight of the past lingering in the air, the echoes of grief yet to be addressed. As the room filled with familiar faces, Olivia stood at the front, her heart racing. She shared her story, recounting her discovery of the whispers, the wooden figure, and her connection to Lily. The room fell silent, all eyes on her as the truth hung in the air. "I believe that Lily is still with us," Olivia concluded, her voice steady despite the tension. "She's waiting for her family to remember her, to find peace." A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Olivia saw a woman step forward, her expression shifting from skepticism to recognition. "I remember Lily," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "She was my sister. I thought I had forgotten, but the memories, they've been buried deep." As the woman spoke, the whispers intensified, weaving through the room like a gentle breeze. Olivia felt the wind swirl around her, affirming the importance of this moment. The stories began to flow as others shared their memories of Lily. The laughter, the adventures, the love that had once filled the Thompson home. As the evening wore on, the air shifted, heavy with emotion. The gathering transformed into a celebration of Lily's life, a remembrance that honored the child who had been lost but not forgotten. The whispers of the wind grew softer, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. In that moment, Olivia realized the true power of the wind. It was not merely a conduit for communication. It was a reminder of the connections that bind us, of the love that transcends time. The spirit of Lily was finally finding solace, and in turn, so were those who had loved her. With tears of joy and sadness mingling in her eyes, Olivia knew that her journey had reached its pinnacle. The whispers had guided her to this moment, a moment of healing and remembrance, a moment where the past could finally be acknowledged. As the night drew to a close, the wind outside began to calm, the chaos of the past giving way to a sense of peace. Olivia felt a weight lift from her shoulders, the culmination of her efforts culminating in a single, profound truth. The power of love and memory could heal even the deepest wounds. The dawn broke gently over the horizon, casting soft rays of sunlight through the community center's windows. Olivia stood in the midst of the quiet space, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips as she recalled the previous night's gathering. The energy had been electric, a tapestry woven from threads of shared memories and healing. The stories of Lily Thompson had filled the room, resurrecting a child who had been lost to time. As the sun rose higher, the realization of what she had accomplished settled in her heart. Families had begun to reach out to one another, reconciling with the grief they had buried for too long. The Thompson family, once fragmented by loss, was slowly coming back together, buoyed by the rekindled memories of a daughter who had brought them joy. Olivia had been the spark that ignited this transformation, and for that, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Yet, as the euphoria of the night faded, the weight of her own journey began to creep back in. The whispers had guided her, but the wind carried with it a reminder of the unfinished business she had yet to confront. She glanced around the empty community center, feeling the residual energy of the past linger in the air. The ghost of Lily had found her voice, but Olivia wondered if she had truly found hers. Leaving the community center, Olivia wandered through the neighborhood, her mind racing with thoughts. She found herself drawn to the Thompson house once more, its presence looming on the horizon. The whispers still echoed in her mind, intertwining with the memories of the night before. She needed closure, not just for Lily, but for herself. Arriving at the Thompson residence, she hesitated at the front gate, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. The air was still, the morning sun bathing the house in a golden glow. As she stepped through the gate, the whispers returned, gentle yet insistent, urging her forward. Inside the house, the air felt charged with emotion. The remnants of the previous night lingered in the corners, a palpable sense of love and remembrance still echoing through the hallways. Olivia moved through the rooms, each step resonating with the stories that had been shared, the laughter and tears that had permeated the walls. When she reached the playroom, the sight of the wooden figure still perched on the shelf filled her with a sense of purpose. It was a symbol of the journey she had undertaken, a journey of discovery, of connection, and ultimately of healing. Sitting on the floor, she recalled her conversations with the Thompson family, their raw emotions laid bare as they reminisced about Lily. They had laughed, cried, and finally embraced the truth of their loss. The air had shifted that night, moving from one of grief to one of acceptance. But there was still something left unsaid. "Lily," Olivia whispered, her voice echoing softly in the quiet room. "I hope you found peace. You deserve it." As if in response, the wind picked up, swirling through the open window and rustling the curtains. The gentle breeze carried a whisper, wrapping around Olivia like a warm embrace. "I'm here," it seemed to say, reminding her that the connection they had forged was far from over. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. She turned to see a shadow darting across the hallway, a small figure, almost imperceptible, but undeniably present. A shiver ran down her spine, and she felt the air grow colder as the apparition lingered at the edge of her vision. "Lily," Olivia called out, her heart racing. "Is that you?" The wind howled in response, and the shadow seemed to pause, as if considering her words. It was a fleeting moment, but Olivia felt an overwhelming urge to connect with this spirit, to reach out and bridge the gap between their worlds. She took a deep breath and stood, walking cautiously toward the shadow. "You don't have to be afraid. I'm here to help you." The figure shifted slightly, and for a moment, Olivia thought she saw the faint outline of a little girl, her hair dancing in the breeze. "Help me," came the whisper, soft yet insistent, resonating deep within Olivia's soul. "I will," Olivia promised, her voice steady and resolute. "But you have to show me what you need." The shadow flickered again, darting toward the back door of the house. Olivia's heart raced as she followed, the whispers growing louder, guiding her steps. She opened the door and stepped outside, where the garden sprawled before her, lush and overgrown. "Where are you?" Olivia called out, her voice laced with determination. As if responding to her call, the wind picked up again, swirling in a whirlwind around her, rustling the leaves and flowers in a vibrant dance. The movement drew her attention to a particular patch of ground, covered in thick grass and wildflowers. She knelt down, feeling an inexplicable connection to the earth beneath her. With trembling hands, Olivia began to clear the overgrown foliage, her heart pounding as she felt the energy surge around her. The whispers crescendoed, urging her to dig deeper. As she unearthed the soil, she felt something solid beneath her fingers, a small, weathered box, much like the one she had found before. She pulled it from the earth, her breath hitching as she wiped away the dirt. The box was adorned with similar intricate carvings, flowers and vines that seemed to pulse with life. Heart racing, she opened the lid to reveal a small bundle wrapped in fabric. Inside, she found a collection of letters, delicate and yellowed with age. As she unfolded the first one, she recognized Lily's handwriting, innocent yet profound. The words spilled forth, recounting the days of happiness and love shared within these walls. But as Olivia continued reading, the tone shifted, echoing the same fears that had filled the last entries of the journal. "Mommy and Daddy are sad," one letter read. "I don't want to leave them. I love them so much." Tears streamed down Olivia's cheeks as she read each heartfelt message. Lily had been aware of the darkness that had entered her life, and the letters served as a testament to her innocence, a plea for love and connection. In that moment, everything clicked into place. Olivia understood that Lily needed to be remembered not just as a ghost, but as a beloved child who had once lived and thrived. She needed to be honored and celebrated, her voice heard beyond the confines of the afterlife. With the letters in hand, Olivia rose to her feet, determination surging within her. She had the tools to ensure Lily's memory would live on, not just for the Thompson family, but for the entire community. Returning to the house, Olivia gathered the wooden figure and the letters, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She would organize a memorial for Lily, an event that would allow everyone to share their stories, to honor the little girl whose laughter had once filled this house. It would be a celebration of life, of love, and a final farewell to the child who had been lost but would never be forgotten. As she left the Thompson house, the wind carried her forward, a gentle breeze that felt like a guiding hand. She could sense that the spirit of Lily was at peace, her whispers now woven into the fabric of the world around her. Olivia knew that the journey wasn't just about uncovering the past. It was about embracing the present and ensuring that the memories of those we've lost never fade away. And with that realization, she stepped forward into a new chapter, ready to share Lily's story with the world. The day of the memorial dawned bright and clear, with the sun casting a warm glow over the Thompson residence. Olivia stood in the backyard, her heart racing as she prepared for the gathering. The air buzzed with anticipation, and the wind seemed to carry a whisper of encouragement, reminding her of the purpose that had brought them all together. Tables adorned with flowers were set up beneath the shade of the old oak tree, and a banner reading, "In loving memory of Lily Thompson," fluttered gently in the breeze. Friends, family, and community members were invited, each of them holding a piece of Lily's story in their hearts. Olivia felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as she moved through the preparations. She had been working tirelessly to ensure that this day would not only honor Lily's memory, but also serve as a catalyst for healing within the Thompson family. This gathering was a chance to reconnect, to share the joy Lily had brought to their lives, and to embrace the love that still lingered in their hearts. As guests began to arrive, Olivia welcomed them warmly, guiding them to the backyard. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and soft conversations, but a sense of reverence lingered in the air. The shadows of grief still hung over the Thompson family, but Olivia could see flickers of hope as they reunited with those who had known and loved Lily. The Thompson parents, Sarah and Mark, stood off to the side, their expressions a mixture of sorrow and gratitude. Olivia approached them, her heart heavy with the weight of their loss. "Thank you for being here," she said softly. "Lily's spirit has been guiding us all, and I believe today will bring you peace." Mark nodded, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It means more than you know," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "We've been lost for so long." As the gathering began, Olivia stood before the crowd, her heart racing as she addressed the attendees. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate the life of Lily Thompson. Today, we honor a little girl whose light continues to shine through the memories we share. Let's remember her laughter, her spirit, and the love that connected us all." The wind picked up, swirling around them as if in agreement, and Olivia felt the weight of Lily's presence enveloping the gathering. She motioned for everyone to take a moment of silence, inviting them to reflect on their memories of Lily and the joy she had brought to their lives. As the silence enveloped the group, Olivia glanced toward the Thompson family. She saw Sarah wipe a tear from her cheek, while Mark held his wife close, offering her comfort. In that moment, the collective grief transformed into a shared acknowledgement of love, a recognition that, despite the pain, Lily's memory would forever remain in their hearts. After the moment of silence, guests began to share their stories. One by one, they stood up, recounting their fondest memories of Lily, her infectious laughter, her adventurous spirit, and her knack for bringing people together. Each story was a brushstroke on the canvas of Lily's life, creating a vibrant picture of the joy she had radiated. "I remember when Lily helped me plant flowers in my garden," an older neighbor shared, her voice warm with nostalgia. "She had such a green thumb for a child. Every time I see those blooms, I think of her smiling face." Olivia felt the wind pick up again, rustling the leaves in the trees, as if whispering encouragement. It was a reminder that Lily's spirit was present, watching over them all. Each story that was shared seemed to add another layer to the atmosphere, lifting the heaviness that had lingered for so long. As the afternoon unfolded, Olivia organized activities for the children who attended, craft stations where they could create their own tributes to Lily. The children giggled and played, their laughter mingling with the soft rustle of leaves, creating a symphony of joy that filled the air. It was a celebration of life, not a farewell, and Olivia felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. In a quieter moment, Olivia found herself standing by the wooden figure, now adorned with flowers and notes from those who had come to pay their respects. She smiled as she noticed that many of the children had drawn pictures of Lily and added their drawings to the display. It was a beautiful testament to the impact Lily had on everyone's lives. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Olivia felt a swell of gratitude. The Thompson family was reconnecting, their laughter echoing through the backyard. She glanced at Sarah and Mark, who were now surrounded by friends and family, sharing stories and leaning on each other for support. The wind shifted gently, wrapping around Olivia like a warm embrace. It felt as if the universe was affirming her journey, whispering words of encouragement and love. In that moment, she knew that she had fulfilled her purpose. She had helped Lily find her voice, and in doing so, had aided the Thompson family in their path to healing. As darkness fell, Olivia gathered everyone for a final tribute. They stood together, holding candles that flickered in the soft night breeze. "Let's send our love to Lily," Olivia suggested, her voice steady. "May our memories of her continue to shine brightly in our hearts." The group lit their candles and took a moment to reflect, the flickering lights creating a warm glow that illuminated their faces. Olivia closed her eyes, allowing the warmth of the moment to wash over her, feeling the love that surrounded her. "I miss you, Lily," she whispered, her heart full. "Thank you for guiding me and for bringing us all together." As they released their candles into the night, the soft wind carried them away, a gentle reminder of Lily's spirit and the connections they had all forged. The wind danced around them, wrapping them in its embrace. And in that moment, Olivia knew that Lily's memory would never fade. It would live on in their hearts, in the stories they shared, and in the love they continued to nurture. As the evening came to a close, Olivia felt a sense of peace settle over her. She had faced her fears and had emerged stronger, a guardian of memories and stories. The whispers of the wind had led her to this place, a culmination of her journey, a place where healing began, where love blossomed, and where a little girl's spirit would forever remain alive in the hearts of those who had loved her. With a heart full of hope and gratitude, Olivia took one last look at the glowing candles before stepping into the night, ready to embrace the future. She knew that the whispers would continue to guide her, reminding her of the profound connections that bind us all, even in the face of loss. And as she walked away from the Thompson house, the wind carried her forward, a soft promise of new beginnings and the enduring power of love. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents. It was a typical Saturday night in Maplewood, a quiet little town where the stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against the backdrop of a deep blue sky. At the edge of town stood an old, creaky house, home to 16-year-old Ethan Harper. On this particular night, however, something felt off. A subtle tension hung in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Ethan lay in bed, his mind racing as he scrolled through social media on his phone. The usual posts from friends filled his feed, pictures of parties and hangouts that he had been too tired to attend. He sighed, setting his phone down and staring at the ceiling. A low hum of cicadas filled the air, their monotonous drone providing a strange comfort that only deepened his sense of unease. He turned off his lamp, the room plunging into darkness. The shadows danced on the walls, elongating and shifting as if they had a life of their own. Ethan had always been a bit of a night owl, but tonight felt different. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond his awareness, something that would reveal itself if he listened closely enough. As he lay there, his heart rate gradually began to slow. Just as he felt himself drifting into a restless sleep, a loud creak echoed from below. It sent a jolt through him, eyes flying open, heart racing. The old house always creaked. He was used to that. But this sound was different. It felt urgent, almost as if something was trying to make itself known. "Just the house settling," he muttered to himself, turning onto his side and pulling the blanket tightly around him. The sound faded, and he let out a slow breath, convincing himself to relax. But just as he was about to surrender to sleep again, he felt it. A strange, unsettling sensation coursed through his body. It started as a gentle tug beneath him, like a subtle pull at the corner of his mattress. He brushed it off as a figment of his imagination, but the sensation intensified. He froze, the hairs on the back of his neck prickling. His bed was moving, heart pounding. Ethan blinked in disbelief. The sensation was undeniable now, a slow, deliberate shift, as if the mattress were inching itself away from the wall. He could hardly breathe, the reality of the situation slowly dawning on him. Was he dreaming? Had he finally lost it? With a burst of adrenaline, he bolted upright, eyes darting around the dark room. The moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting eerie patterns on the walls. His bed lurched again, a little more forcefully this time, sending his pulse racing even faster. Ethan's mind raced as he fought the urge to scream. He glanced over to his nightstand where his phone lay, the only source of light in the room. Grabbing it, he quickly turned it on, illuminating the space around him. The bed had moved a few inches from the wall, the sheets ruffled as if someone had been tugging at them. "Okay, this is insane," he whispered to himself, forcing his feet to touch the cold floor. He didn't know what to expect, but he had to figure out what was going on. With shaky legs, he slowly approached the edge of the bed, half expecting it to leap again. As he peered down, his heart sank. The space beneath the bed was cloaked in darkness, but it felt alive, charged with a strange energy. He squinted, trying to make sense of what he saw. Shadows seemed to swirl, and the air grew colder, a stark contrast to the warmth of his room. The bed lurched once more, this time sending him stumbling back. "What the hell?" he gasped, stumbling against the wall, trying to steady himself. Panic surged through him. He had to get out. He turned toward the door, but the moment he did, he heard it again, a faint whispering sound, soft yet chilling, coming from beneath the bed. It was as if the shadows were trying to communicate, beckoning him closer. "Ethan," the voice called, faint but clear. It sent a chill down his spine, a shiver that gripped him in fear. Who, or what was calling his name? His heart raced as he fought the instinct to run, the need to discover the source of the voice overpowering his fear. He felt an inexplicable pull, as though the darkness beneath his bed held answers he needed. He swallowed hard, slowly crouching down, peering into the abyss below. What he saw next would change everything. Ethan knelt beside the bed, his heart racing as he leaned closer to the shadows pooling beneath. The air felt thick and charged, an electric tension surrounding him. He squinted into the darkness, trying to discern the source of the whisper. The words were soft and almost melodic, swirling around him like a haunting lullaby. "Ethan, come closer." He hesitated, his instincts screaming for him to back away. But the voice had an otherworldly quality that both intrigued and terrified him. What could be hidden in the darkness? He couldn't resist the urge to uncover the truth, even as every fiber of his being warned him against it. Taking a deep breath, Ethan crawled closer to the edge of the bed. The shadows danced and shifted, as if alive, and he felt an inexplicable connection to whatever was lurking just out of sight. "Who's there?" he called softly, his voice trembling. There was a pause, and then the whisper returned, clearer this time. "Help me." The urgency in the voice sent a chill down Ethan's spine. He couldn't ignore it. "What do you need help with?" he asked, feeling foolish for talking to the darkness, but unable to stop himself. "Find me," the voice replied, laced with a haunting sadness. "I've been waiting." Ethan's mind raced. Who, or what, was he speaking to? What did it want? Suddenly, the feeling of unease shifted into something more profound, something that resonated deep within him. It felt personal. He could sense the desperation behind the words, urging him to take action. As he peered deeper into the shadows, Ethan noticed a faint glimmer, something shiny half buried in the dust. Curiosity piqued. He reached out, feeling the coolness of the wooden floor beneath him. He felt around until his fingers brushed against a small object. Carefully, he pulled it into the light. It was an old, tarnished locket, intricately designed with delicate engravings. Ethan turned it over in his hand, noting the small latch that seemed to be stuck. As he examined it closer, the whispering intensified, swirling around him like a gust of wind. "Open it, please." His heart raced. Who had this locket belong to, and why was it so important? With a mixture of trepidation and determination, he fiddled with the latch, finally managing to pry it open. The tiny hinges creaked as it swung open, revealing a faded photograph of a young girl with bright eyes and a warm smile. The image was worn, but Ethan could tell she radiated joy. "Who are you?" he breathed, feeling a strange connection to the girl in the picture. The voice from the shadows responded softly. "I'm Lily. I need your help to remember." Ethan's pulse quickened as he processed the name. He had never heard of anyone named Lily associated with the house. Why would she need his help? "What happened to you?" he asked, feeling compelled to understand the situation. "Trapped, forgotten," the voice echoed, tinged with sorrow. "You must remember, Ethan, there's more to the story." A sense of dread washed over him. What kind of story was he being pulled into? The weight of the locket felt heavy in his hand, as if it carried the burden of memories long lost. He had to uncover the truth, not just for himself, but for Lily, whoever she was. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed from downstairs, jolting Ethan out of his thoughts. The noise sent adrenaline coursing through him. He instinctively glanced toward his bedroom door, now illuminated by the moonlight seeping through the window. Should he investigate? Was there a connection between the noise and the voice? The decision weighed heavily on him. He glanced back at the locket and the shadows beneath the bed. "I'll help you, Lily," he promised, feeling an unshakable determination. But first, I need to check what's going on. As he cautiously stood up, he tucked the locket safely in his pocket. The tension in the air was palpable as he made his way to the door. Each creak of the floorboards beneath his feet felt amplified, a stark reminder of the eeriness that surrounded him. Ethan took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever awaited him. He opened the door slowly, peering into the dimly lit hallway. The house felt unusually still, but he could sense an undercurrent of energy thrumming in the air, urging him forward. With cautious steps, he made his way down the hallway, his heart pounding in rhythm with the echoes of the past. The thump had come from the living room, and as he approached, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched by something that lurked in the shadows. Arriving at the living room doorway, Ethan paused, hesitating for a moment before stepping inside. The room was dark, but the moonlight spilled through the window, casting ghostly shadows across the furniture. He scanned the area, searching for the source of the noise, when he noticed something unsettling. The old family portraits that lined the walls seemed to be watching him. He shook his head, trying to dispel the chilling sensation. "Get a grip," he muttered to himself. But as he looked closer, he felt the weight of the locket in his pocket, a reminder of the girl's plea. He couldn't ignore her any longer. As he took another step into the room, he noticed that the front door was slightly ajar, swaying gently as if someone had just come in, or perhaps gone out. Ethan's stomach twisted with anxiety. Had someone entered his home while he was distracted by the shadows beneath his bed? "Hello," he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. No answer. The only sound was the rustling of the leaves outside, gently swaying in the wind. Taking another cautious step, he approached the door, the cool breeze brushing against his skin as he pushed it open further. Outside, the night was still, but the air felt charged with a strange energy. The street was empty, save for the flickering streetlight casting long shadows across the pavement. Ethan stepped onto the porch, the wooden planks creaking beneath his weight. "Lily, where are you?" he whispered into the darkness, gripping the locket tightly in his hand. A sudden gust of wind swept through the yard, rustling the trees and causing a shiver to run down his spine. In that moment, he felt it, a presence, something lingering just beyond his sight, beckoning him to uncover the truth. As he stood there, contemplating his next move, Ethan knew he was no longer just a teenager in an old house. He was now a part of a mystery that spanned time, one that connected him to a girl who needed him to remember. And he was determined to find out what had happened to her, no matter what it took. Ethan stood on the porch, the cool breeze swirling around him, making the hairs on his arms stand on end. The street was enveloped in a blanket of silence, the kind that felt pregnant with secrets. With the locket still clutched tightly in his fist, he felt the weight of the mystery pressing down on him. He had to know more about Lily and what had happened to her. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. The night was still, and the shadows seemed to beckon him deeper into the enigma. Instead of retreating into the safety of his home, he chose to venture into the unknown, driven by a force he couldn't quite understand. The question remained, how did this all connect to the strange occurrences in his bedroom? Ethan stepped off the porch and onto the grass, the cool earth beneath his feet grounding him. He turned back to glance at the house, its silhouette looming in the moonlight, holding countless memories and, perhaps, forgotten truths. It was time to dig deeper. He made his way to the backyard, the moon illuminating his path. The whispering winds seemed to guide him, rustling through the trees and drawing him closer to the overgrown garden at the back. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and blooming night flowers, an unsettling contrast to the turmoil brewing in his mind. As he reached the garden, Ethan noticed a small, crumbling stone pathway that wound its way through the dense brush. He had never paid much attention to it before, but now it felt significant. He hesitated for a moment, the shadows dancing around him, before deciding to follow the path. With each step, he felt the presence of the locket in his pocket, as if it were alive, pulsing with energy. Ethan's heart raced as he pushed past the thick underbrush, the sounds of the night growing louder, the rustle of leaves, the chirping of crickets, and that ever-present whisper that urged him on. The path led to a clearing where the moonlight bathed the ground in a silvery glow. In the center stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches stretching toward the sky like twisted fingers. As he approached, he noticed something odd at the base of the tree, an old, weathered box partially buried in the ground, its edges decorated with intricate carvings that resembled the same patterns on the locket. Ethan knelt beside the box, excitement and trepidation flooding through him. Could this be a clue to Lily's past? He brushed away the dirt and leaves, revealing a small latch. His heart raced as he hesitated, contemplating whether he should open it. The whispers intensified, echoing in his mind, urging him to take action. With a firm resolve, Ethan reached for the latch and tugged. The box creaked open, revealing its contents, a collection of faded letters tied together with a frayed ribbon. He carefully untied them, feeling a mixture of reverence and curiosity. Each letter was handwritten, the ink slightly smudged, but the words still legible. As he began to read, Ethan quickly realized these letters belonged to Lily. They were addressed to someone named Henry, filled with longing and a sense of urgency. The words unfolded a tale of love and loss, of dreams and despair. "Dear Henry," the first letter began, "it's been so long since I last saw you. I fear the world is closing in around me, and I am trapped in this house of shadows. Please, if you can hear me, know that I am waiting for you." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The words resonated with his own feelings of being trapped, both by the secrets of the past and the mysteries of the present. He read on, each letter revealing snippets of Lily's life, her struggles, and her plea for freedom. With each word, a story unfolded, a tale of a young girl who had once roamed these very grounds, who had loved deeply and lost tragically. The letters painted a picture of a bond that transcended time and space, and Ethan could feel the weight of her emotions pressing against him. But something else was brewing beneath the surface of her words, a darkness that seemed to follow her, references to shadows creeping into her life, feelings of being watched, and a sense of foreboding that grew with each passing day. Ethan's mind raced as he connected the dots, the bed moving, the whispers in the night, the chilling feeling of being observed. It all made sense now. Lily had been trying to reach him, to communicate her plight from beyond the grave. Suddenly, a loud rustle in the bushes broke his concentration, snapping him back to the present. The shadows seemed to deepen around him, and a chill ran down his spine. He quickly glanced around, feeling exposed and vulnerable. "Is anyone there?" he called out, his voice trembling. The rustling stopped, and an eerie silence fell over the clearing. Ethan felt the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him, waiting just beyond the edge of the trees. Determined to confront whatever lurked in the shadows, he stood up, clutching the letters tightly. "I'm not afraid," he shouted into the darkness, though his heart raced in defiance of his words. He had to stand strong for Lily. As if in response to his challenge, the whispers intensified, swirling around him in a tempest of sound, intertwining with the rustling leaves. "Find me, remember?" Ethan's heart raced. He realized he couldn't stay in this clearing any longer. The box, the letters, the connection to Lily, they all pointed to a deeper mystery that needed unraveling. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed help. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the unknown. With one last glance at the ancient oak, he turned and raced back down the stone path, urgency propelling him forward. The whispers faded behind him, but the echo of Lily's voice remained, driving him to uncover the truth of her fate. As he entered his house, he could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. He had to piece together Lily's story and confront whatever darkness had taken hold of her. The night was far from over, and Ethan was just beginning to realize how deep the rabbit hole went. Ethan bolted back into the house, the adrenaline still surging through him as he closed the door behind him, shutting out the darkness of the garden. His heart pounded in his chest as he leaned against the door, trying to catch his breath. The letters felt like a lifeline in his grasp, their weight tangible as he clutched them tightly. He needed to analyze what he had discovered, but first, he had to face the growing urgency swirling in the air around him. He flicked on the hallway light, illuminating the way forward. Shadows stretched across the walls, dancing like specters in the corners of his vision. Ethan shook off the unease and headed toward the living room, where the flickering streetlight cast an eerie glow through the window. Settling onto the worn couch, he spread the letters across the coffee table, their faded ink whispering secrets of the past. As he began to reread the words, a chill swept through the room, causing him to glance at the front door once more. It was firmly closed, yet he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He focused on the letters again, sifting through them for clues. Each one revealed snippets of Lily's life, filled with emotional longing and vivid imagery of the world she once inhabited. The loneliness seeped through the pages, and with every line, he felt a deeper connection to her plight. The last letter he read contained a desperate plea. "I fear the darkness is closing in. I can feel its presence creeping closer, and I don't know how much longer I can hold on. If you find this, know that I am waiting for you always." A pang of guilt washed over Ethan. How could he help her? He was just a teenager, caught in a web of mysteries far beyond his understanding. But the connection was undeniable. He had to find a way to free her spirit. Suddenly, the air in the room shifted. It felt colder, as if an unseen force had entered. Ethan sat up straighter, instinctively glancing toward the window. The rustling branches outside painted ominous shadows on the wall. "Lily," he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is that you?" The room fell silent, the only sound the distant hum of the streetlight. Just as he began to doubt himself, the whispers returned, a gentle breeze swirling around him, carrying with it the faint scent of blooming night flowers, the same scent that had enveloped him in the garden. "Help me, remember." The urgency in the voice was palpable, and Ethan's pulse quickened. He felt the need to act, to uncover the truth behind Lily's torment. He couldn't wait any longer. He needed to investigate further. Ethan stood up, determination coursing through him. He felt an inexplicable pull toward the attic, a space he had long neglected. It was the only part of the house that remained unexplored, and now it felt like the key to unlocking the mystery. Without hesitation, he made his way to the attic door, his heart racing with anticipation and dread. The stairs creaked beneath his feet as he climbed, each step echoing in the silence. He reached the attic door, which was slightly ajar. Taking a deep breath, he pushed it open and stepped inside. The attic was dimly lit, dust motes dancing in the shafts of moonlight streaming through the small window. Ethan's eyes adjusted to the darkness, revealing a space filled with forgotten treasures and relics of the past. Old furniture, dusty boxes, and yellowed newspapers filled the room, each item telling a story waiting to be uncovered. He began to sift through the clutter, feeling the weight of time pressing down on him. As he rummaged through a box labeled "Family Keepsakes," his fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. Pulling it out, he discovered a tarnished key. It was heavy in his hand, and he wondered what secrets it might unlock. Just as he was about to inspect the key further, a sudden noise startled him, a soft thud from the far corner of the attic. Ethan spun around, heart racing. The shadows seemed to shift ominously, and he felt a chill sweep through the room. "Is someone there?" he called out, his voice shaky. Silence enveloped him again, but the feeling of being watched intensified. His instincts screamed at him to leave, but he pushed the fear aside. He couldn't turn back now. He needed answers. Ethan moved cautiously toward the corner, his heart pounding in his chest. The shadows loomed larger, and as he approached, he noticed a large, old trunk sitting partially obscured by a tattered blanket. The trunk was covered in dust, its edges worn and frayed, as if it had been untouched for years. He knelt beside it, running his fingers over the intricate carvings on the surface. The key felt warm in his palm, as if resonating with energy. Could this trunk hold more of Lily's story? With trembling hands, he fumbled with the lock, inserting the key. It clicked open with surprising ease. A mix of excitement and dread washed over him as he lifted the lid, revealing a trove of forgotten items: clothing, a diary, and various trinkets, all belonging to Lily. As he sifted through the items, his heart sank when he came across a small, weathered diary. The cover was embossed with flowers, and it felt fragile in his hands. He carefully opened it, revealing Lily's handwriting flowing across the pages. The first entry read, March 15th, 1945. Today, I found a locket in the garden. It was beautiful, but it felt strange, like it belonged to someone else. I can't shake the feeling that it holds a secret. Ethan's breath quickened. This was it, the connection he had been searching for. He needed to read more, to understand the events that had unfolded in this house so many years ago. As he delved into the diary, each entry painted a vivid picture of Lily's life. A life filled with dreams, love, and an underlying sense of foreboding. The later entries grew darker, filled with cryptic references to shadows lurking in the corners, a malevolent presence that seemed to follow her everywhere. April 22nd, 1945. I can feel it closing in. I don't know how much longer I can hide from the darkness. It knows my name, knows my fears. I've lost touch with Henry. I fear he won't come back to me. Ethan's heart ached for her. He could sense her growing despair, her struggle against an unseen force that tormented her. The final entry sent shivers down his spine. June 10th, 1945. I can hear the whispers now, even in my dreams. They call me by name, and I feel trapped in this house of shadows. If anyone finds this diary, know that I tried to fight, but I am losing myself. Help me before it's too late. Tears pricked at the corners of Ethan's eyes as he realized the weight of her suffering. She was trapped in a cycle of fear, longing for a way out, and he was the key to breaking that cycle. But as he processed this revelation, a sudden sound echoed through the attic, startling him. A loud bang reverberated from below, shaking the very foundations of the house. Ethan's heart raced as panic surged through him. It sounded like something had fallen in the living room. The echoing noise felt like a warning, urging him to leave the attic. He quickly gathered the diary and the key, clutching them tightly as he made his way back down the stairs. When he reached the bottom, he was met with a darkened hallway, the shadows now feeling more sinister than before. He stepped cautiously toward the living room, the sound of his footsteps the only thing breaking the heavy silence. As he approached, the front door stood ajar, swaying slightly in the night breeze. The eerie sensation of being watched intensified, a chill racing up his spine. Something was out there, something he couldn't see. "Hello," he called again, his voice shaking. "Is anyone there?" But silence answered him, thick and oppressive. He took a deep breath and stepped into the living room, his heart pounding with anticipation and fear. The room was empty, but the atmosphere felt charged with an unexplainable energy. He glanced around, searching for the source of the disturbance, when suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness before returning. For a brief moment, he thought he saw a figure standing near the window, cloaked in shadows. "Ethan," the voice whispered, sending shivers down his spine. "You need to remember." He spun around, but there was no one there, just the stillness of the night surrounding him. Ethan's heart raced as he realized that he was not alone in this house, and whatever presence had been haunting him was now more tangible than ever. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. He had to confront this darkness, not just for himself, but for Lily. "Show yourself," he shouted into the void, feeling an unexpected surge of courage. "I'm not afraid of you." The air crackled with tension, and for a moment, everything felt suspended in time. The shadows seemed to shift, and he felt a gust of wind rush past him, whispering through the room. The feeling of being watched intensified as he braced himself for whatever revelation was about to unfold. The room pulsed with energy, the air thick with unspoken tension. Ethan felt a strange mix of fear and resolve as he stood in the dim light, waiting for whatever force was behind the shadows to reveal itself. He gripped the diary tightly, feeling its pages flutter in response to the whispers swirling around him. "Why are you here?" Ethan demanded, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "What do you want from me?" A moment of silence enveloped him, stretching out like an eternity. Then, the whisper returned, soft and insistent. "Remember, find the truth." Ethan's heart raced. He understood now that the shadows were not just a figment of his imagination. They were tied to Lily, to the secrets that had remained buried within the walls of this house. The urgency of her plea echoed in his mind, and he realized that he had to confront the past to understand the present. He looked around the living room, feeling the weight of the memories that lingered in the corners. The family portraits on the wall seemed to watch him, their expressions frozen in time. He needed to dig deeper. The clues lay hidden within the house, waiting for him to uncover them. With newfound determination, Ethan made his way to the hallway, each step echoing in the stillness. He had a gut feeling that there was something he had missed in the attic, perhaps another layer to Lily's story. He could not shake the sensation that time was running out, both for him and for her. Ethan climbed back up to the attic, the stairs creaking beneath his weight. Once inside, he was struck by the overwhelming stillness, a silence that seemed to press against his ears. He scanned the room, searching for anything he might have overlooked. The trunk remained open, the diary lying haphazardly among the items. But there was something else, something in the far corner that caught his eye. It was a stack of old boxes, dusty and forgotten, nearly hidden beneath a moth-eaten blanket. Driven by instinct, Ethan hurried over and began rummaging through them, his heart pounding with anticipation. Inside the first box, he found yellowed letters tied with twine, their contents faded and barely legible. As he carefully unfolded one, he realized it was a letter from Lily to her parents, filled with love and longing. She wrote about her dreams and aspirations, her desire to escape the small town they lived in, and the fear that haunted her. April 5th, 1945, I feel trapped in this house, caught between what I want and what is expected of me. Sometimes, I hear voices in the wind, urging me to leave, to seek a life beyond these walls. But I don't know if I have the courage to follow them. The words resonated deeply within him, mirroring his own feelings of being trapped in a life that felt too small. He pressed on, uncovering more letters, each one revealing pieces of Lily's life and the struggles she faced. But it was the last letter in the box that made his heart race. It was addressed to Henry, her love, filled with desperation and urgency. May 28th, 1945. Henry, I need you to come back. I can't fight this darkness alone anymore. It's growing stronger, and I fear for my life. Please, if you love me, come find me. I'll be waiting by the old oak tree. Ethan's mind whirled as he processed the implications of the letter. The oak tree he had seen in the garden. It was ancient and gnarled, its branches twisted and reaching out like skeletal fingers. He had to go there. He had to find out what Lily had meant and what connection she had with the darkness that haunted her. As he made his way back down the attic stairs, a thought crossed his mind. What if Henry had been more than just a distant figure in Lily's life? What if he was still connected to this house, perhaps even still alive? Ethan felt a shiver of anticipation as he reached the front door. He pushed it open, stepping into the cool night air, the shadows of the garden welcoming him back. The oak tree loomed ahead, illuminated by the moonlight, its presence both comforting and foreboding. He approached the tree slowly, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. Ethan paused at its base, feeling an inexplicable energy radiating from it. The whispers intensified, mingling with the rustling leaves, beckoning him closer. Help me find him. Taking a deep breath, Ethan reached out to touch the rough bark of the tree. The moment his fingers made contact, a wave of memories flooded his mind. Visions of Lily laughing under the tree, of her waiting for Henry with hopeful eyes, and of a moment that shattered their happiness. The darkness wrapped around him, and he saw flashes of a confrontation, shouting, accusations, a fight against an unseen force. Then silence, as if a spell had been cast, trapping Lily in time. Henry, he murmured, feeling the weight of her sorrow pressing down on him. Where are you? The wind picked up suddenly, swirling around him, and Ethan stumbled back as the whispers morphed into cries for help. He closed his eyes, focusing on the sound, trying to interpret the messages hidden within. Find him before it's too late. With determination igniting his spirit, Ethan stepped back from the tree and turned toward the house, feeling a surge of purpose. He needed to uncover more about Lily, more about Henry, and more about the darkness that threatened to consume them both. As he retraced his steps back into the house, Ethan felt the weight of the diary and the letters in his hands, grounding him in the reality of his mission. He would not let Lily's story end in despair. He would bring the truth to light, no matter the cost. He decided to search the house for any other clues, determined to find out what had happened to Henry and why the darkness still lingered. Ethan rummaged through the drawers of old furniture, inspected the shelves lined with dusty books, and peered behind every forgotten object, driven by an insatiable curiosity and the growing urgency of Lily's whispers. It wasn't long before he stumbled upon a hidden compartment in an old desk. It was small and tucked away in a corner, almost as if it had been intentionally concealed. With a surge of adrenaline, Ethan pried it open, revealing a collection of photographs. He flicked through them, each image capturing moments of laughter, love, and joy shared between Lily and Henry. But as he turned the final photo, a chill crept down his spine. It showed a group of friends standing in front of the very oak tree where he had just been, except one of them was not like the others. In the background stood a shadowy figure, its face obscured, but Ethan could feel its sinister presence radiating through the photograph. The darkness was not merely a figment of Lily's imagination. It was real, and it had followed her, haunting her every move. "Who are you?" Ethan whispered, staring at the photograph, a knot of fear tightening in his stomach. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house, shaking him from his thoughts. Panic surged through him as he rushed toward the source of the noise, his heart pounding with dread. The living room door swung open violently, revealing a dark silhouette standing in the doorway, a figure cloaked in shadow, its eyes glowing like embers in the night. Ethan froze, terror gripping him. He had uncovered many secrets tonight, but none prepared him for the confrontation that awaited him now. Ethan's heart raced as the shadowy figure loomed in the doorway, blocking out the soft glow of the moonlight behind it. The air grew heavy with an oppressive silence, and he felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He had uncovered Lily's painful past, but nothing could have prepared him for this moment. "Who are you?" he demanded, trying to keep his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. The figure stepped forward, the dim light illuminating just enough of its features to send a chill down Ethan's spine. The face was obscured by a dark hood, but he could see a pair of eyes, cold and piercing, devoid of any warmth. They seemed to bore into his very soul, reading his thoughts and fears as if they were an open book. "I am the keeper of the secrets buried within these walls." The figure spoke, its voice low and gravelly, resonating with a chilling authority. "You should not have come here, Ethan." The use of his name sent a jolt through him. How did it know him? How was it even here? 1,000 questions raced through his mind, but fear held him in place, paralyzing his body with uncertainty. "What do you want?" he managed to croak out, gripping the diary tightly in his hand, as if it were a shield against the darkness that loomed before him. The figure took another step forward, and with it, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. "You seek the truth, but truth is a double-edged sword. It brings light, but it also brings pain. Are you ready to face the consequences of your curiosity?" Ethan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of its words. He was already knee-deep in the secrets of Lily's life and death. How could he turn back now? "I need to know what happened to Lily," he said, his voice stronger this time. "I need to know where Henry is." The figure's lips curled into a shadow of a smile, unsettling and sinister. "Henry is lost in time, much like Lily. Their fates are entwined, bound by the darkness that consumed them both. But the truth you seek may come at a cost." "What cost?" Ethan asked, his heart pounding in his chest. He was terrified but resolute. He had come too far to turn back now. The figure gestured towards the attic, its voice dropping to a whisper. "The attic holds the key to their past. But be warned, the truth can change you. Once uncovered, there is no going back." With a deep breath, Ethan took a step towards the figure, defying the instinct to run. "I'm ready," he declared, determined to confront whatever awaited him. "Then follow me," the figure commanded, its tone now authoritative. It turned and glided down the hallway, the shadows trailing behind it like a cloak. Ethan hesitated for a moment, glancing around the living room, now filled with an eerie stillness. He couldn't ignore the opportunity to find the answers he so desperately needed. Steeling himself, he followed the figure down the corridor, feeling an unseen force guiding his steps. They climbed the stairs back to the attic, where the air was thick with the scent of dust and neglect. The figure gestured toward the center of the room, where a circle of candles flickered dimly, casting long shadows against the walls. "Sit," it instructed, its voice echoing in the hollow space. Ethan's legs felt heavy, but he complied, lowering himself onto an old crate. The figure hovered before him, the darkness swirling around it like a tempest. "You are about to embark on a journey through the past. You must be prepared to confront your fears and embrace the truth, no matter how painful." "What do I have to do?" Ethan asked, trying to suppress the unease creeping into his chest. The figure pointed towards the candles. "Light the flame of revelation, and the memories will unfold. But beware, some truths are better left hidden." With a trembling hand, Ethan reached for a match and struck it against the side of the crate. The flame flickered to life, and he brought it to the wick of the nearest candle. As the flame caught, a rush of energy surged through the room, causing the shadows to writhe and pulse. Suddenly, the air around him thickened, and the whispers intensified, swirling around him like a storm. He closed his eyes tightly, focusing on the words that danced just beyond his reach. As he lit each candle, he felt a shift, as if the very fabric of reality was bending to his will. With the last candle lit, the room exploded into brilliant light, and Ethan's mind was flooded with images from the past. He was no longer in the attic. He was standing in a different time, a time when Lily and Henry were alive. The scene unfolded before him, a vibrant garden bathed in sunlight, children laughing, birds chirping, and the unmistakable sound of love and joy filling the air. Lily was there, her face radiant with happiness as she twirled under the oak tree, her laughter echoing through the vibrant blooms. But as the memories swirled around him, they began to darken. The joyous laughter faded into angry shouts and piercing cries. Ethan watched helplessly as shadows crept into the garden, enveloping everything in their grasp. The brightness dulled, and he saw Lily's face twist in fear as she turned to confront the encroaching darkness. "Henry," she called, her voice filled with desperation. "Where are you?" Ethan's heart ached at the sight. He felt the pull of emotion, the weight of her sorrow crashing over him like a tidal wave. He wanted to reach out to her, to tell her that help was on the way, but he was trapped in this memory, a mere observer to the tragedy unfolding before him. Henry emerged from the shadows, his face contorted with rage. "I won't let them take you," he shouted, his voice strained. "You're mine, Lily." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He realized then that the darkness wasn't just an external force. It was something that had consumed Henry from within. In his attempt to protect Lily, he had become the very thing that threatened her. "Henry, please," Lily cried, her voice trembling. "This isn't you." The shadows writhed around them, closing in like a vice. Ethan could feel the despair suffocating the air, and just when he thought the darkness would swallow them whole, a blinding light burst forth. Suddenly, Ethan found himself back in the attic, panting heavily, the shadows now replaced by a haunting stillness. The figure stood before him, its eyes reflecting a mix of pity and understanding. "You have seen their truth," it said softly. "Now you must decide what to do with it." Ethan's heart raced as he processed what he had just witnessed. "I have to save them," he declared, determination coursing through his veins. "I have to find Henry and bring him back to Lily." The figure shook its head slowly. "The darkness will not easily release its grip. It seeks to consume those who dare to challenge it. Are you prepared to face the consequences?" With a deep breath, Ethan nodded. "I have to try. For Lily, for Henry, for everyone trapped in this nightmare." "Then the journey begins," the figure said, stepping back into the shadows. "But know this, once you embark on this path, there is no turning back." Ethan felt the weight of its words settle over him like a shroud. He was standing on the precipice of an unknown destiny, ready to plunge into the depths of darkness to reclaim the light. "Where do I start?" he asked, ready to take the first step into the unknown. "Follow the whispers of the wind," the figure replied, its voice fading into the silence. "They will guide you to what you seek." With newfound purpose, Ethan steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The time for hiding was over. He would uncover the truth, confront the darkness, and bring peace to the souls trapped within the echoes of the past. Ethan stood in the attic, heart racing, as the last echoes of the figure's voice faded into the shadows. The whispers of the wind felt like a distant melody, luring him toward the unknown. He glanced around, taking in the familiar surroundings, the dusty shelves filled with forgotten treasures, the half-open window letting in a cool breeze that carried a sense of urgency. Taking a deep breath, he stepped toward the window, feeling the chill of the night air wash over him. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the landscape. The wind rustled through the trees outside, a soft murmur that seemed to beckon him forward. He felt an undeniable pull, an instinct guiding him to follow the sound. As Ethan climbed down from the attic, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to cross a threshold into a world where the lines between reality and the supernatural blurred. He opened the front door and stepped outside, the cool grass beneath his feet grounding him as he ventured into the night. The wind whispered through the branches, a gentle yet insistent sound, as if the very trees were urging him to listen. He walked towards the backyard, the place where he had first felt the presence of something otherworldly. The air was electric, crackling with energy, and he felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him. Ethan reached the edge of the yard, where the shadows of the trees danced under the moonlight. He paused, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. The wind picked up, swirling around him, and he closed his eyes, allowing himself to be enveloped by the whispers. "Where do you want me to go?" he whispered into the night, feeling slightly foolish yet hopeful. As if in response, the wind changed direction, rustling through the grass and brushing against his skin. Ethan opened his eyes, instinctively following the path the wind seemed to indicate, leading him deeper into the forest behind his house. Each step he took felt deliberate, as though he were being guided by unseen forces. The trees loomed around him, their branches weaving a canopy that obscured the stars. The shadows danced, and the air grew thick with anticipation. He followed the whispers, each gust of wind carrying echoes of laughter, cries, and secrets hidden within the forest. After what felt like hours of navigating through the dense underbrush, he stumbled upon a clearing. The moonlight poured down, illuminating a small stone well at its center, partially overgrown with vines and moss. The whispers grew louder, swirling around him like a tempest, and he felt an inexplicable connection to the well. Ethan approached cautiously, the air around him heavy with an ancient energy. He peered over the edge, and the darkness within seemed to swallow the light, revealing nothing but an endless abyss. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice echoing back at him, the only reply the soft rustle of leaves. As he stood there, the memories of Lily and Henry flooded his mind. Their laughter, their pain, the darkness that had taken them. Everything collided within him. Suddenly, the wind howled, a sharp gust that sent a shiver down his spine. The whispers grew frantic, urging him to act. Taking a step back, he remembered the figure's words, "Follow the whispers of the wind." The well might be the key to understanding what had happened to Lily and Henry. Summoning his courage, he knelt beside the well, pressing his ear against the cold stone. "Show me," he whispered, his heart pounding. "Show me the truth." The wind whipped around him, spiraling into a vortex of energy. As he gazed into the depths of the well, images began to materialize, swirling like a film reel projecting a lost memory. The first image was of Lily, standing at the edge of the well, looking terrified as shadows crept closer. Ethan watched helplessly, feeling her fear wash over him. "Henry," she cried, her voice breaking with desperation. "Help me." Suddenly, the scene shifted, and Ethan saw Henry, his face twisted in rage as he confronted a dark figure shrouded in shadows. "You can't have her," he shouted, his voice echoing with defiance. Ethan's heart raced. The darkness wasn't just a force. It had a face, and it thrived on the fear and despair of those it consumed. "What are you?" Henry demanded, his voice filled with anguish. The figure laughed, a chilling sound that reverberated through the clearing. "I am the manifestation of your deepest fears, Henry. I will take what you cherish most." In a fit of rage, Henry lunged at the figure, but it dissipated into a cloud of darkness, swirling around him like smoke. Ethan watched as the scene dissolved into chaos, the shadows enveloping both Lily and Henry. The whispers grew louder, drowning out their cries as darkness closed in. Then, just as abruptly, the vision shifted again. Ethan found himself standing in the middle of a frigid winter night, the ground blanketed in snow. A group of children played in the distance, their laughter ringing out in the air. In the forefront, he saw a young Lily and Henry, their faces alight with joy. They were together, carefree and innocent, oblivious to the darkness that lurked just beyond the tree line. Suddenly, the laughter turned into screams, and Ethan felt his heart drop as he watched the shadows slither from the trees, creeping towards the children. "Run!" he shouted, but his voice was lost in the whirlwind of memory. The darkness consumed the light, and he felt a profound sense of loss. When the vision faded, Ethan gasped, pulling away from the well. The weight of what he had witnessed pressed down on him. It was clear now. The darkness that had taken Lily and Henry was not just a supernatural force. It was the manifestation of their fears, their regrets, and the love that had turned into desperation. He stood up, trembling, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. "I can't let this happen again," he vowed, his voice firm. "I will find a way to stop it." Just then, the wind picked up again, swirling around him with an urgency that felt almost like a warning. Ethan turned, sensing that he was not alone. The shadows began to shift, and he instinctively reached for the pendant around his neck, the one that had belonged to Lily. He could feel its warmth, a reminder of her spirit, urging him to fight against the darkness. "Show yourself," he called out into the swirling shadows, his voice steady despite the fear churning in his gut. The wind howled in response, and the darkness coalesced, taking form before him. The figure from the attic emerged, its face still hidden beneath the hood, but its presence was undeniable. "You have witnessed the truth," it said, its voice echoing through the clearing. "Now you must decide how to confront the darkness. I won't let it take anyone else." Ethan shouted, his determination igniting a fire within him. "I'll find a way to save them." "Then you must be prepared for the trials ahead," the figure warned. "The darkness will not relinquish its hold easily. It will test you, tempt you, and seek to break your spirit." Ethan squared his shoulders, steeling himself against the looming threat. "I'm ready," he asserted. "I won't back down." "Very well," the figure replied, slowly lifting its hand, revealing an ancient pendant that glimmered in the moonlight. "Take this. It is a key, a beacon of hope in the darkness. But remember, it will only work if you believe in the light within yourself." Ethan reached out, taking the pendant, feeling a surge of energy flow through him. The moment he clasped it around his neck, he felt a connection to something greater, a bond with Lily and Henry that transcended the fear that had tried to consume them. The figure stepped back into the shadows, its form fading until it was nothing but a whisper in the wind. "Follow the path of light, Ethan. The journey is just beginning." With that, Ethan turned back to the well, determination coursing through him. He had witnessed the darkness, but he would not let it define him. The path ahead was uncertain, but he knew he had to face whatever challenges awaited him. As he stepped away from the clearing, the wind seemed to guide him, whispering secrets of hope and resilience. He would reclaim the light, for Lily, for Henry, and for himself. The darkness may have tried to consume them, but he would not let it win. Ethan stood at the threshold of the clearing, the moonlight casting an ethereal glow on the landscape. The pendant around his neck pulsed gently, resonating with the heartbeat of the earth beneath him. A newfound resolve surged through his veins as he took a moment to absorb everything he had witnessed. The wind whispered promises of strength, urging him to move forward. He turned away from the well, the shadows still lurking at the edge of the trees, and began his journey back home. Each step felt like a declaration of war against the darkness that had claimed Lily and Henry. The air crackled with energy, the wind shifting in response to his determination. As he reached his backyard, he paused, taking a deep breath. He could feel the weight of the night pressing down, heavy with anticipation. "I have to confront it," he murmured to himself, the fear of what lay ahead mingling with the courage ignited by his revelations. Ethan entered the house, each creak of the floorboards beneath his feet echoing in the stillness. The comforting familiarity of his surroundings felt like a sanctuary, but he knew that safety was an illusion. The darkness lurked, waiting for him to falter. He climbed the stairs to his bedroom, where the shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own. The air felt thick, charged with a foreboding energy that made his skin prickle. He reached for the lamp, casting a warm glow that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. Ethan sank onto his bed, gripping the pendant tightly in his hand. The whispers of the wind echoed in his mind, reminding him of the figure's warning. He closed his eyes, focusing on the light radiating from the pendant. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder of the love that had once thrived before the darkness took hold. "Tomorrow I'll start my search," he vowed, his voice steady in the quiet room. "I'll find a way to reach them." The night slipped away, and as dawn broke, Ethan awoke with renewed determination. He dressed quickly, ready to uncover the truths hidden within the shadows of his town. He needed to understand how to combat the darkness that had claimed the lives of his friends, to find a way to bring them back, or at the very least, to set their spirits free. Stepping outside, he felt the crisp morning air fill his lungs, invigorating him as he walked toward the nearby woods. The trees stood tall and silent, their branches whispering secrets to one another. Each step forward was a step deeper into the unknown, where he hoped to uncover answers. He recalled the figure's words, pondering their meaning. Follow the path of light. The pendant hung heavy around his neck, a constant reminder that he was not alone in this fight. He needed to find those who understood the darkness, those who had encountered it and survived. As he ventured deeper into the woods, Ethan came across the old community library, a relic of the town's history. The building stood abandoned, vines creeping up its walls, but he felt an undeniable pull to enter. The library had been a sanctuary of knowledge, filled with stories of both light and darkness. Perhaps it held the secrets he sought. Pushing open the creaky door, he stepped inside. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light, filtering through the grimy windows, illuminating the vast array of books that lined the shelves. He could smell the musty scent of aged paper and forgotten tales. It was eerily quiet, but he could feel the weight of countless stories pressing in around him. Ethan made his way to the history section, searching for books on local legends and lore. The stories of the town could hold the key to understanding the darkness. He picked up a dusty tome, the cover faded and worn. Flipping through the pages, he stumbled upon a section detailing local folklore, stories of spirits and shadows that had haunted the town for generations. One passage caught his eye, the whispering shadows of Elder Grove. It spoke of a malevolent force that thrived on fear, drawing strength from the despair of those it touched. The only way to combat it, the legend claimed, was to confront one's deepest fears and reclaim the light within. His heart raced. This was it. This was what he needed to face the darkness that had taken Lily and Henry. He scanned the pages for more details, feverishly jotting down notes about the rituals and methods mentioned in the text. There were tales of offerings made to the spirits, requests for guidance to help those lost in the shadows. Just as he was about to delve deeper into the book, a creaking sound pulled him from his concentration. He glanced up, and his breath caught in his throat. In the corner of the room, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman dressed in flowing white, her face obscured by a veil. The air chilled around Ethan as he met her piercing gaze. "Ethan," she spoke softly, her voice like a breeze through the trees. "You seek the truth, but beware, the path is fraught with danger." "Who are you?" he stammered, his heart pounding in his chest. "What do you know about Lily and Henry?" "I am a keeper of the shadows," she replied, her eyes glimmering with a mix of sorrow and wisdom. "I have witnessed their suffering, and I know the darkness that has claimed them." "Can you help me?" he implored, stepping closer. "I need to find a way to save them. I can't let the darkness win." The woman tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made him feel exposed. "You possess the light within you, Ethan, but you must be willing to confront your own fears. The darkness is cunning. It knows your weaknesses and will use them against you." "What do I need to do?" Ethan asked, determination burning in his chest. "Tell me how to fight back." "Face the shadows in your heart," she said, her voice almost a whisper. Only then can you reach them. But remember, the path is not without sacrifice. You must be prepared to lose something dear to you in order to reclaim the light. As her words hung in the air, Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. What do you mean by sacrifice? He pressed, anxiety creeping in. The woman stepped back into the shadows, her form fading like a wisp of smoke. You will understand soon enough, she murmured, the last remnants of her presence disappearing. Ethan stood alone in the library, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He had come here seeking answers, but now he was faced with an unsettling truth. The battle against the darkness would require more than just courage. It demanded a reckoning with his own fears and the sacrifices he might have to make. As he exited the library, the pendant around his neck pulsed with warmth, as if reassuring him. He knew what he had to do. He had to confront the shadows within himself and find the strength to face whatever awaited him. The journey was just beginning, and he would not turn back. Ethan stood outside the library, the sun rising slowly on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the landscape. He felt the warmth of the sun against his skin, but the chill of the woman's warning lingered in the back of his mind. Each breath he took seemed heavier, weighted with the realization that the path ahead was fraught with challenges. As he made his way back home, the world felt different, charged with an energy that was both exhilarating and terrifying. He had uncovered fragments of the truth, but the full picture remained obscured in the shadows. The thought of confronting his fears loomed over him, a specter whispering doubts and uncertainties. In the quiet of his room, he spread the notes he had taken from the library across his desk, piecing together the fragments of folklore that might hold the key to his friend's return. Each story spoke of rituals, of facing the darkness, but they also hinted at the sacrifices required. He ran his fingers over the pages, feeling a mixture of hope and dread. What would he have to give up? What price would he have to pay? Determined to find clarity, he closed his eyes and focused on the pendant around his neck. It pulsed with a steady rhythm, resonating with something deep within him. The wind outside began to howl, its sound transforming into a voice he almost recognized. It beckoned him, urging him to step into the unknown. Gathering his resolve, Ethan prepared for the next step. He needed to explore the depths of the forest once more, the place where the shadows danced and whispered. There was something lurking there, something he had yet to confront. He recalled the clearing where he had encountered the figure in white, the very spot where the veil between worlds seemed thinnest. As he stepped into the woods, the familiar sounds of rustling leaves and distant bird calls surrounded him. The sunlight filtered through the canopy, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the forest floor. But as he ventured deeper, the atmosphere shifted, the air thickened, the light dimmed. He could feel the weight of the shadows pressing in around him. After what felt like an eternity, he arrived at the clearing. The stillness was palpable, broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the pendant warm against his chest, a reminder of his purpose. He was here to confront the darkness, to face whatever had ensnared Lily and Henry. "Show yourself," he called out, his voice echoing through the trees. "I know you're here." Silence enveloped him, and for a moment, doubt crept in. Was he truly ready for this? But then, the wind picked up, swirling around him, and he felt an undeniable force drawing him into the heart of the clearing. The shadows seemed to shift, coalescing into a figure before him, the woman in white. "You have returned, Ethan," she said, her voice resonating like a distant melody. "Are you prepared to confront your fears?" "I need to save them," he replied, his voice steady. "I will do whatever it takes." "Very well," she said, gesturing to the center of the clearing. "Here lies the threshold between light and dark. Step forward and face the shadows that dwell within you." Ethan hesitated, but the urgency of his friend's plight propelled him forward. As he stepped into the center of the clearing, the air crackled with energy. The shadows around him twisted and curled, forming shapes that loomed large and menacing. He could feel the darkness tugging at his heart, whispering the fears he had buried deep within. "What do you fear most?" the woman asked, her gaze piercing through the veil of his bravado. Images flooded his mind, memories of Lily and Henry. Laughter turned to silence, faces he could no longer see. The fear of loss tightened its grip around him, a suffocating presence that threatened to swallow him whole. "I fear losing them forever," he admitted, his voice trembling. "Embrace that fear, Ethan," she urged. "Only by facing it can you break free." As the shadows drew closer, Ethan felt a surge of defiance rise within him. He clenched the pendant, focusing on the warmth it radiated. "I refuse to let fear control me," he shouted, and in that moment, a brilliant light erupted from the pendant, illuminating the clearing. The shadows recoiled, hissing and writhing as the light pushed them back. Ethan felt the power of the light course through him, bolstering his resolve. He stood firm, facing the dark figures that represented his deepest fears. "You will not take them from me. I will fight for them." The wind howled, and the clearing filled with the echoes of his voice, blending with the whispers of the shadows. In that cacophony, he saw images flash before him. Lily's laughter, Henry's encouragement, the warmth of their friendship. These memories fueled his courage, igniting a fire within him. With a determined step, he reached out to the shadows, embracing them instead of retreating. "I accept you as part of me," he declared. "You do not define me." The light from the pendant flared, enveloping the clearing in a warm glow that banished the darkness. The shadows began to dissolve, their forms breaking apart into wisps of smoke that vanished into the ether. As they dissipated, Ethan felt a weight lift from his chest, as if the darkness had released its hold on him. "You have faced your fear and emerged stronger," the woman said, her voice soothing. "But the journey is not yet complete. You must continue to seek the truth." Ethan nodded, breathing deeply. "What must I do now?" "Follow the path of light," she replied, gesturing toward the trees. "Seek those who understand the darkness and can guide you. Your friends are waiting, but you must be willing to face the trials ahead." With her words echoing in his mind, Ethan turned to leave the clearing, the pendant still glowing warmly against his chest. The shadows had lost their power over him, but he knew the battle was far from over. He would find Lily and Henry, no matter the cost. As he stepped back into the woods, the sunlight filtering through the trees felt brighter, the world around him alive with possibility. He would not rest until he uncovered the truth behind the darkness, and he would do it for his friends, Lily and Henry. The journey back through the woods felt different for Ethan. The path seemed clearer, illuminated not just by the sun, but by the determination burning within him. The pendant hung around his neck like a beacon, its warm glow a reminder of the victory he had just claimed over his fears. But even as he walked, the gravity of his task weighed heavily on him. He had faced the darkness inside, yet the battle outside was only just beginning. As he reached the edge of the woods, he spotted his home, a sanctuary that felt both familiar and distant. The memories of laughter and joy echoed in his mind, and the thought of Lily and Henry filled him with urgency. He knew he had to gather information, seek out anyone who might hold the key to unraveling the darkness that had claimed them. Ethan decided to visit the local cafe where he and his friends often hung out. It was a hub of chatter and laughter, a place where the community came together. He hoped that someone might have seen or heard something unusual recently. Maybe even someone could help him make sense of the darkness that had shrouded the town. As he entered the cafe, the familiar aroma of coffee enveloped him, mingling with the sounds of clinking dishes and friendly banter. He scanned the room, looking for familiar faces. Then he spotted Miranda, a barista and one of Lily's close friends. She was working behind the counter, her face lighting up when she noticed him. "Ethan, it's been a while. How have you been?" she called out, her voice warm and inviting. "Miranda, I really need to talk to you," he said, urgency in his tone. "It's about Lily and Henry." Concern flickered across her face as she wiped her hands on her apron and stepped closer. "What do you mean? What happened?" "I think they're in danger," he said, glancing around to ensure no one was eavesdropping. "I've seen things, heard things. I can feel it in my bones. There's something dark in this town, and I need to know if you've noticed anything strange." Miranda's expression shifted from curiosity to worry. "You're not joking, are you? The town has felt different lately. People have been acting oddly, and there have been rumors about strange happenings at night. Some even say they've seen figures moving in the shadows." "What kind of figures?" Ethan pressed, his heart racing. People have talked about a dark silhouette lingering near the old cemetery at the edge of town. They say it's been there for weeks, watching, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. It gives me chills just thinking about it. Ethan's mind raced. The cemetery had long been a place of mystery and intrigue, filled with stories of lost souls. If there was something lurking there, it could be connected to Lily and Henry's disappearance. I have to check it out, he said, determination coursing through him. I'll come with you, Miranda offered, her eyes wide with resolve. If there's something dark going on, we should face it together. The two friends left the cafe, stepping into the cool afternoon air. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the streets. The journey to the cemetery was filled with a mix of anticipation and dread. Ethan could feel the weight of his resolve building, but the fear of what they might find lingered at the edges of his mind. As they approached the cemetery gates, a sense of foreboding washed over him. The old wrought iron fence stood twisted and rusted, the stone tombstones looming like guardians of the forgotten. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying whispers that seemed to beckon him closer. Are you sure about this? Miranda asked, her voice tinged with apprehension. Ethan nodded, swallowing his fear. We need to know the truth. Together, they stepped through the gates, the crunch of gravel beneath their feet echoing in the stillness. The cemetery was eerily quiet, the atmosphere thick with an otherworldly energy. As they walked deeper into the grounds, the sunlight seemed to fade, casting the surroundings into a twilight haze. Look over there, Miranda whispered, pointing to a cluster of trees at the back of the cemetery. A dark figure stood among them, indistinct and shadowy, its presence sending shivers down Ethan's spine. Stay close, he cautioned, gripping the pendant tightly as they approached. The figure seemed to shift, blending with the shadows, but Ethan felt an undeniable pull toward it, as if it was calling out to him. Who are you? Ethan called out, his voice steady despite the fear bubbling within. What do you want? The figure turned slightly, and for a moment, the darkness parted, revealing a familiar face, Lily's. Ethan, she said, her voice echoing in the wind. You found me. Lily, Ethan cried out, stepping closer. I thought I lost you. Where's Henry? She looked around, a mixture of fear and determination in her eyes. We're trapped in the shadows. The darkness won't let us go, but you can help us. You have to confront the source of it. What do you mean? He asked, feeling the weight of her words. How can I help? Follow the whispers of the wind, she said urgently. It will guide you to the heart of the darkness. But be warned, Ethan, confronting it will test you in ways you can't imagine. You must be prepared to lose everything to reclaim what was taken. I won't let you down, Ethan vowed, his heart pounding with determination. He reached out, desperate to hold her, to bring her back from the edge of the shadows. But as he extended his hand, the darkness engulfed her, pulling her back into the void. No, he shouted, anguish tearing through him. The shadows writhed and twisted, the cemetery transforming into a chaotic swirl of light and dark. Ethan felt himself being pulled into the darkness, the world around him dissolving. Ethan, Miranda screamed, clutching his arm. We need to leave. But he couldn't move. The shadows wrapped around him, constricting his breath. He closed his eyes, focusing on the pendant's warmth. The whispers of the wind began to swirl around him, filling his mind with visions of light, a path illuminated through the darkness. I will find you, he shouted into the void, his voice echoing with power. I will bring you back. With that declaration, a brilliant light erupted from the pendant, casting away the shadows and illuminating the cemetery. The darkness recoiled, releasing its hold on him, and he stumbled forward, pulling Miranda with him. The world solidified around them as they emerged from the shadows. The cemetery lay before them, untouched and silent, as if nothing had transpired. But Ethan felt the weight of the shadows still lingering in his heart. He would not abandon Lily and Henry. With renewed resolve, Ethan turned to Miranda. We need to find a way to confront the source of this darkness. If the whispers lead us to the heart of it, we'll uncover the truth. Together, she affirmed, her eyes bright with determination. Ethan nodded, his heart steady. They would seek out the knowledge needed to combat the darkness, to unravel the mysteries entwined in their town's history. He would not rest until Lily and Henry were safe. As they stepped out of the cemetery, the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the horizon. The whispers of the wind followed them, promising guidance and strength as they embarked on their quest. Together, they would confront the darkness, reclaim the light, and uncover the truth that had long been hidden in the shadows. The journey was far from over, but with each step, Ethan felt the burden of fear lift, replaced by the hope that flickered in the depths of his heart. He would not let the darkness win. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents. In the quiet town of Eldridge Hollow, where secrets whispered through the wind and shadows danced in the corners of every old building, Amelia Harper found herself lost in the chaos of her own thoughts. She had just returned to her childhood home after her grandmother's passing, a place brimming with memories, both cherished and haunting. The once vibrant colors of her home felt muted, the air thick with nostalgia and an unshakable sense of dread. Amelia had always felt a peculiar connection to her grandmother, Evelyn, a woman shrouded in mystery and old-world charm. Growing up, Amelia would listen wide-eyed to Evelyn's stories, tales of enchantment, hidden paths, and dark corners of their family history. Yet, as she stood in the dimly lit attic, surrounded by forgotten treasures, it was hard to separate the enchanting from the eerie. As Amelia sorted through her grandmother's belongings, she stumbled upon a dusty trunk hidden beneath the bed. The trunk was battered, its leather worn and cracked, yet it held an allure that sparked her curiosity. With trembling hands, she pried it open, revealing a treasure trove of memories. Old photographs, faded letters, and an ornate, leather-bound diary that caught her eye. The diary was surprisingly heavy, embossed with intricate designs that seemed to swirl like smoke. A chill ran down Amelia's spine as she traced her fingers over the cover, feeling an energy that pulsed with each touch. Her heart raced as she carefully unfastened the latch, revealing pages that were yellowed with age. As she turned the first page, the familiar, elegant script drew her in. It was her grandmother's handwriting, filled with swirling loops and flourishes. The entry dated back decades, chronicling events from a time Amelia could barely imagine. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind as she read the opening lines, detailing mundane daily life interwoven with hints of something darker lurking beneath the surface. But as Amelia continued reading, the tone shifted. The entries grew more erratic, filled with frantic scribbles and incomplete thoughts. Words like shadow, whispers, and betrayal leaped off the pages, making her heart race. She felt the weight of her grandmother's words pressing down on her, revealing a disturbing truth she had never known existed. Amelia's breath hitched in her throat as she read the ominous phrases detailing her grandmother's growing fear of someone, or something, that had been haunting her. Evelyn described a figure that lurked in the periphery of her life, always watching, always waiting. The fear that had once seemed like a shadow in her grandmother's stories now took on a frightening reality. Tears filled Amelia's eyes as she realized that the diary was not just a collection of memories. It was a portal into a hidden world, a world that her grandmother had been desperately trying to protect her from. The weight of the revelation settled heavily on Amelia's shoulders, and she knew she couldn't turn away now. She had to uncover the truth behind these disturbing entries, to find out what had haunted her grandmother for all those years. With renewed determination, Amelia closed the diary and tucked it under her arm, her mind racing with questions. What secrets lay hidden within the pages? What had her grandmother discovered that had led to such fear? And most importantly, what would she uncover about her own family legacy? As Amelia descended from the attic, the diary felt like a stone in her pocket, both a burden and a promise. The shadows in the corners of her home seemed to stretch longer, more alive than ever. She was about to embark on a journey that would reveal the hidden truths of her family, a journey that would change everything she thought she knew. The following day, the weight of the diary pressed heavily on Amelia's mind as she navigated through her grandmother's house, which was now a labyrinth of memories and mysteries. The sun streamed through the dusty windows, casting golden rays that danced across the floorboards, yet a chill lingered in the air. Every creak of the old house echoed like a ghostly whisper, filling her with both nostalgia and unease. Determined to piece together her grandmother's fragmented thoughts, Amelia returned to the attic with a fresh pot of coffee and a sense of urgency. She set up a small workspace, spreading the diary open alongside the old photographs and letters she had discovered. Each artifact felt like a breadcrumb leading her closer to the truth. The second entry in the diary caught her attention immediately. It was dated just a few months before her grandmother's passing. As Amelia began to read, she was drawn into Evelyn's world, one filled with charm and trepidation. October 13th, 1975. The winds are changing in Eldridge Hollow. Today, I found a strange note tucked away in the pages of an old book at the library, a warning from someone who once lived in this house. I cannot shake the feeling that the past is not as dead as I wished it to be. I see shadows moving in the corners of my vision, but when I turn, they vanish. I must remember that the mind can play tricks. Yet, there's something about this place, something that binds me to it. Amelia's heart raced. The mention of a note intrigued her, and she wondered if it still existed somewhere in the house. What could it possibly say? A sense of foreboding washed over her as she considered the implications of her grandmother's observations. Shadows were not just remnants of her imagination. They were real, and they were here. She continued reading, her fingers trembling as she turned the pages. The next entry revealed an unsettling incident. October 25th, 1975. I had a visitor last night, someone I thought I recognized but couldn't place. They stood outside my window, watching me. When I confronted them, they simply smiled and whispered my name. It chilled me to the bone. I tried to convince myself that it was just a trick of the light, but I could swear they were familiar. I fear that I am not alone in this house. Amelia felt a shiver run down her spine. Who had been watching her grandmother? Could it be the same presence that now lingered in the house? The unsettling thought ignited a spark of dread within her. Determined to uncover more, she poured herself a cup of coffee and forced herself to focus. She flipped through the pages, absorbing each entry like a sponge. With every word, the diary revealed more of Evelyn's fears and experiences, muffled sounds in the night, items misplaced, and an ever-present feeling of being watched. It felt like a slow unraveling, revealing a tapestry of paranoia woven into the fabric of her grandmother's life. As she reached an entry dated November 2nd, 1975, Amelia's pulse quickened. I've made a decision. Tomorrow, I will confront whatever haunts me. I can no longer live in fear, wondering what lurks in the shadows. I must understand the legacy of this house, its history. I will seek out the truth, no matter how terrifying it may be. Amelia closed her eyes, envisioning her grandmother's resolve. It was a feeling she understood all too well, a desire to seek the truth, to uncover what had long been buried. It was then that a thought struck her. Her grandmother had faced her fears, had been brave enough to confront the unknown. Could she do the same? Feeling a surge of adrenaline, Amelia resolved to search for the note her grandmother had mentioned. Perhaps it held the key to understanding the darkness that lingered over her family. She rifled through the trunk and gathered the letters and photographs, hoping they might offer clues. Among the letters, one caught her attention. It was a faded envelope addressed to her grandmother, postmarked from Eldridge Hollow's Historical Society. Intrigued, Amelia carefully opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter from a historian, detailing the town's history and its connection to her family. The letter mentioned a tragic incident that had occurred decades ago, something about a hidden truth and a family curse. Her heart raced as she scanned the letter for more information. The details were vague, but it mentioned a tragedy tied to a local family who had lived in the very house Amelia now occupied. The historian hinted at dark events surrounding their demise, echoing the feelings of loss and betrayal that Amelia had sensed while reading the diary. Suddenly, she felt a presence behind her. Amelia whipped around, her breath hitching in her throat, but the attic was empty. The shadows felt thicker, the air heavier, as if the house itself were holding its breath. Dismissing her fears, she pushed the unsettling feeling aside and continued her investigation. Determined, she began searching the attic for any hidden compartments or overlooked areas. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, each second echoing in her mind. She felt as if she were being drawn deeper into her grandmother's world. unraveling the threads of history that had long remained tangled. After what felt like an eternity of searching, Amelia stumbled upon a loose floorboard beneath the trunk. Kneeling down, she pried it open, revealing a small hollow space. Inside lay a crumpled piece of paper, her grandmother's note. The moment she touched it, a surge of energy coursed through her, and she felt an inexplicable connection to Evelyn. As she unfolded the note, a chill swept over her. It was a warning, filled with frantic scrawls that spoke of danger and foreboding. Her grandmother had written about the figure that had haunted her, but this note revealed more: a name. The Watcher. Amelia's heart raced. The mention of a name made the shadowy presence feel all the more real. What did it mean? Who was the Watcher, and how were they connected to her family? As she absorbed the words, an unsettling thought crossed her mind. Was the Watcher still here? Did they still lurk in the shadows of the house, waiting for her to uncover the truth? The diary, the notes, everything was leading her down a dark path she could not ignore. With determination and a hint of fear, Amelia realized that she had to confront this legacy, no matter the cost. The truth awaited her, hidden beneath layers of time, and she would not shy away from it. The whispers of the past had called her, and she would answer. With the discovery of the note, Amelia felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The air in the attic seemed to crackle with energy, charged with secrets waiting to be unearthed. She knew she had stumbled upon something significant, something that would lead her deeper into the history of her family and the eerie presence that had haunted them for generations. Amelia took a moment to gather her thoughts. The Watcher, a name that echoed ominously in her mind. What had her grandmother experienced, and why had she felt compelled to warn Amelia, even after her death? The answers felt tantalizingly close, yet frustratingly out of reach. Determined to piece together the puzzle, Amelia grabbed the diary and the crumpled note, then made her way down to the small study on the main floor. The room was lined with bookshelves filled with dusty volumes, each one a testament to the knowledge her grandmother had accumulated over the years. If there was any place that could shed light on the Watcher and her family's past, it was here. She began poring over the books, flipping through pages of local history, folklore, and old records. Hours passed as she searched for anything that might reference the Watcher. The sunlight streamed through the windows, casting long shadows that danced across the room, but Amelia hardly noticed. She was immersed in her quest, driven by a sense of urgency. Finally, a yellowed book entitled Eldridge Hollow, Legends and Lore caught her eye. It was an anthology of local myths and stories, and something about it felt significant. As she flipped through the pages, her fingers brushing against the faded print, she came across a chapter titled The Watcher in the Woods. Her breath caught as she read about a figure said to haunt the outskirts of town, a spectral being that appeared during the twilight hours. According to legend, the Watcher was once a guardian of the land, tasked with protecting the community from dark forces. However, over time, the tales morphed into something sinister, depicting the Watcher as a harbinger of doom, stalking those who ventured too close to the woods. The description sent shivers down Amelia's spine. The Watcher was said to possess an eerie knowledge of people's lives, foreseeing their actions and desires. It was rumored that those who attracted its attention would find their lives upended, ensnared in a web of misfortune and despair. Amelia's pulse quickened as she continued reading, her mind racing. The stories echoed her grandmother's experiences, the feeling of being watched, the sense of unease. Was it possible that her family had been targeted by this ancient force? Did the Watcher hold the key to the tragedies that plagued their lineage? One particular passage stood out. Beware the Watcher, for it sees all. To confront it is to face the shadows of your past. The words resonated deeply within her. Confrontation. Her grandmother had mentioned that word too. Amelia knew she could no longer stand idly by. She had to seek out the Watcher, to uncover the truth behind the whispers that had haunted her family for generations. With renewed determination, Amelia closed the book and made a plan. She would visit the woods that bordered her grandmother's property, the very place where the Watcher was said to dwell. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched across the ground, and she felt the pull of the unknown beckoning her. As she prepared to leave, Amelia grabbed a flashlight, the diary, and her grandmother's note. She knew she needed to document everything, to capture the truth no matter how unsettling it might be. Stepping outside, the air was cool and crisp, and the familiar sounds of the town felt strangely distant, as if she were entering another world. The path leading into the woods was overgrown, the trees looming tall and menacing. With each step, Amelia felt the weight of the forest envelop her, the shadows growing thicker and more alive. The sun's last rays filtered through the leaves, casting eerie patterns on the ground. A sense of unease gnawed at her, but she pressed on, driven by an insatiable need to uncover the truth. As she ventured deeper into the woods, the atmosphere shifted. The rustling of leaves and the distant calls of birds faded into an unnatural silence. It was as if the very air held its breath, anticipating her arrival. Goosebumps prickled her skin as she recalled her grandmother's tales of the Watcher, stories she had once dismissed as mere fiction. With every crunch of twigs beneath her feet, the tension escalated. The shadows danced around her, and Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She gripped the flashlight tightly, illuminating the path ahead, though the beam felt weak against the encroaching darkness. After what felt like hours of walking, she came across a small clearing, a space untouched by the chaos of the surrounding trees. In the center stood an ancient oak, gnarled and twisted, its roots clawing at the earth as if seeking to escape. Amelia felt a magnetic pull toward the tree, an instinctive recognition that this was a significant place, a crossroads between her world and the unknown. She approached the oak cautiously, feeling the energy emanating from it. As she reached out to touch the rough bark, a sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, swirling around her like a whirlwind. It was as if the forest itself were alive, reacting to her presence. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling slightly. The only response was the rustling of leaves, but deep down, Amelia knew she was not alone. Taking a deep breath, she pulled out the diary and opened it to her grandmother's most recent entry. "I must confront whatever haunts me," she whispered to herself, the words taking on a weight of their own. Just then, a chill ran down her spine, and she felt it, an unmistakable presence at the edge of the clearing. The air grew heavy, and shadows began to coalesce, taking form just beyond the trees. Amelia's heart raced as she felt the atmosphere shift, the tension thickening like a taut string ready to snap. "Show yourself," she commanded, her voice stronger than she felt. The darkness seemed to quiver at her words, and for a moment, she stood at the precipice of fear and courage. Then, from the shadows, a figure emerged, a silhouette cloaked in darkness, its features obscured. Amelia's breath hitched in her throat, fear clawing at her insides, but she held her ground. This was it. This was the moment she had been searching for. "Who are you?" she demanded, though her voice wavered. The figure remained silent, a palpable tension hanging in the air. And just as suddenly as it appeared, the darkness enveloped the figure again, leaving only the faintest echo of her own heartbeat ringing in her ears. In that instant, Amelia understood. The Watcher was here. The truth she sought was entwined with this presence, lurking just beyond the veil of her perception. Her heart raced as she prepared for what was to come, knowing that the shadows of the past were finally ready to reveal themselves. The air in the clearing was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that seemed to vibrate with each heartbeat. Amelia stood her ground, determined not to be intimidated by the enigmatic presence before her. She felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. This was the moment she had been preparing for, the intersection of her past and the mystery she longed to uncover. As the darkness flickered at the edge of her vision, Amelia took a cautious step forward, her flashlight cutting through the gloom. The beam of light illuminated the ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. For a brief moment, she felt as if the tree were a witness to the unfolding drama, its roots steeped in secrets and stories long forgotten. "Why are you here?" Amelia called out, her voice steadying as she faced the shadow. "What do you want from me?" A whisper echoed through the clearing, barely audible, like the rustling of leaves caught in the wind. It sent chills down her spine, the words forming a language that felt both familiar and foreign. She strained to listen, trying to make sense of the cryptic message. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, and the figure took a step closer, the darkness coalescing into a more defined shape. Amelia could see now that it was a woman, her features obscured by the swirling darkness that clung to her like a shroud. The woman appeared ethereal, her form flickering in and out of focus, as if she were a memory slipping away. Amelia. The voice was hauntingly melodic, carrying an otherworldly quality. You seek answers, but the truth comes at a cost. The weight of the words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Amelia's heart raced as she tried to comprehend what the figure was saying. Was this the Watcher? Was she truly confronting the spirit that had haunted her family for generations? I want to know why you've been watching me, Amelia replied, her voice firm despite the fear creeping into her heart. What do you want from my family? The woman's form flickered again, and the shadows danced around her. It is not what I want, but what has been set in motion, she responded, her tone laced with a hint of sorrow. You are the key to unlocking the past, but to do so, you must confront the darkness that dwells within. With that, the figure stepped back into the shadows, leaving Amelia standing alone in the clearing, her mind racing. What darkness? What did she have to confront? Her grandmother's note echoed in her mind. Confront whatever haunts me. Was this the confrontation her grandmother had been speaking of? Amelia's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden rustle in the underbrush. Instinctively, she raised her flashlight, illuminating the source of the sound. Her heart pounded as she caught sight of a small, wooden box nestled among the roots of the ancient oak. The box was weathered and worn, its surface etched with symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint glow in the dim light. Compelled by a force she couldn't explain, Amelia approached the box, her fingers trembling as she brushed away the dirt and leaves. The symbols looked familiar, echoing the pattern she had seen in her grandmother's diary. The realization sent a jolt of energy through her. This box was connected to her family, to the very secret she sought. As she crouched down, the shadows around her began to shift and swirl again, the air growing heavier with anticipation. With a deep breath, Amelia opened the box, the hinges creaking as it revealed its contents. Inside lay a collection of items, small trinkets and mementos, each one telling a story of its own. There was a silver locket, its surface engraved with intricate designs, a faded photograph of her grandmother as a child, and a weathered letter that appeared to be written in her grandmother's handwriting. Amelia's fingers brushed over the letter, her heart racing as she unfolded it. The words felt familiar, yet laden with emotion, as if her grandmother were speaking directly to her from beyond the grave. My dearest Amelia, the letter began, if you are reading this, then you have ventured into the depths of our family's past. I have long feared the truth of our lineage, the shadow that looms over us. The Watcher is not merely a specter. It is a manifestation of our ancestors' choices and their consequences. You must understand that you have the power to break the cycle, but it requires strength and resolve. As Amelia read, the weight of her grandmother's words settled heavily upon her. She felt the gravity of the legacy she had inherited, the burden of confronting the darkness that had plagued her family for generations. Do not shy away from what you will find, the letter continued. The Watcher seeks to guide you, but you must be willing to face the truth of your own heart. Only then can you find peace. The final words hung in the air, resonating with a profound sense of purpose. Amelia's resolve hardened. She understood now that the Watcher was not merely a harbinger of doom, but a guardian of truths that needed to be unearthed. Show yourself, she called again, her voice stronger now. I'm ready to confront the truth. The clearing fell silent, the shadows receding slightly as if the woods themselves were awaiting her response. With the letter clutched tightly in her hand, Amelia felt a surge of determination. She was no longer a passive observer in her family's narrative. She was stepping into her role as the one who would face the darkness and bring light to the hidden truths. As the shadows swirled once more, the figure of the woman appeared before her, more defined this time. There was a softness to her expression, an acknowledgement of Amelia's bravery. Then you shall begin your journey, the woman said, her voice now tinged with warmth. The path ahead will not be easy, but you are not alone. Remember, the past is but a reflection of your choices. Embrace it, and you will find your way." With that, the figure gestured towards the deeper woods, the shadows swirling to reveal a narrow path that seemed to beckon Amelia forward. Taking a deep breath, she stepped toward the trail, feeling a mixture of fear and exhilaration wash over her. The confrontation was just beginning, and she knew that whatever awaited her in the depths of the woods would change everything. The path ahead was shrouded in an ethereal glow, as if the moonlight had woven itself into the fabric of the night. As Amelia ventured deeper into the woods, the familiar sounds of her surroundings faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. It felt as if the very air was holding its breath, waiting for something momentous to occur. Each step she took echoed with the weight of her ancestors' stories, the whispers of the past urging her onward. With the letter from her grandmother tucked securely in her pocket, Amelia felt the warmth of her words coursing through her. They were a lifeline, a reminder that she was not alone on this journey. The further she walked, the more she sensed that she was entering a realm beyond the ordinary, a place where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blurred. The forest was alive, pulsating with energy. The trees stood like sentinels, their branches twisting into intricate patterns that seemed to tell a story of their own. As she paused to take in her surroundings, Amelia noticed that the symbols carved into the bark of the trees mirrored those on the wooden box she had found. Was it possible that these trees had witnessed generations of her family's secrets, their roots intertwined with the very essence of her lineage? Suddenly, a chill swept through the air, causing the hairs on the back of her neck to stand on end. She instinctively tightened her grip on the flashlight, its beam illuminating a clearing ahead. The glow of the moon bathed the area in silver light, revealing a circle of stones that resembled an ancient altar. The stones were covered in moss and lichen, giving them an air of age and mystery. Amelia stepped closer, drawn to the altar like a moth to a flame. As she approached, she could see that the surface was etched with more symbols, a language long forgotten. She knelt down, tracing the patterns with her fingertips, a shiver of recognition coursing through her. This was the same language she had seen in her grandmother's diary, the one that had beckoned her to uncover the truth. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, and the symbols on the altar began to shimmer and glow. Startled, Amelia pulled back, her heart racing as she took in the surreal scene before her. The wind swirled around her, lifting leaves and twigs into a mesmerizing dance, as if the very spirits of her ancestors were awakening. "Amelia," the voice of the Watcher echoed, surrounding her like a gentle caress. "You have come to the heart of your family's legacy. Here lies the truth you seek, but it is intertwined with the choices made long ago." Taking a deep breath, Amelia steadied herself. She was ready to confront whatever revelations lay ahead. The air crackled with energy, and she felt a shift in the atmosphere, a tension building as if the universe were holding its breath, waiting for her to take the next step. "What do I need to do?" she asked, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. "Place your hands upon the altar," the Watcher instructed, the words echoing in her mind. "Only then will the truth be revealed. But be warned, what you uncover may challenge everything you thought you knew." With her heart pounding, Amelia approached the altar once more. She placed her hands on the cool, moss-covered stones, and as she did, a surge of energy shot through her, a powerful connection to the past igniting within her. The symbols began to pulse beneath her fingers, and visions flooded her mind. Images of her ancestors, their faces filled with both sorrow and hope. She saw her great-grandmother standing in the very same clearing, her expression a mixture of determination and fear. Amelia felt the weight of her decisions, the sacrifices made to protect the family, the darkness that had haunted them for generations. Each image played like a film, revealing the tangled web of choices and consequences that had led to this moment. Tears filled Amelia's eyes as she watched her ancestors' struggles unfold. She saw moments of love, loss, and betrayal, each thread weaving a story that transcended time. The darkness that had shrouded her family's past was not just a curse, but a tapestry of resilience. As the vision swirled around her, one image stood out, a young woman, her face strikingly similar to Amelia's. She was standing at the edge of the clearing, holding a silver locket, her eyes filled with longing. Amelia recognized her. It was her grandmother, the woman whose notes had guided her to this very moment. Suddenly, the vision shifted, and Amelia found herself back in the clearing, the wind swirling fiercely around her. The air crackled with energy, and she could feel the presence of her ancestors surrounding her, their voices merging into a harmonious chorus. "Confront the darkness," they urged in unison. "Only you can break the cycle." Amelia's heart raced as the weight of their words sank in. The darkness was not an external force, but a reflection of her own fears and doubts. She had the power to change the narrative, to reclaim her family's legacy, and forge a new path. Taking a deep breath, she closed her eyes and centered herself. The visions had revealed the truth, but now it was time to face the shadows that lurked within her. She had spent years running from her fears, but no more. The Watcher had shown her the way. It was time to confront the darkness head-on. "Show me what I need to face," she declared, her voice firm and resolute. "I am ready." With those words, the atmosphere shifted once more. The wind ceased its swirling dance, and the clearing fell into an eerie silence. In that stillness, Amelia felt a presence coalesce before her, the air thickening with a palpable energy. The shadows began to take shape, forming a figure cloaked in darkness. As the figure stepped forward, Amelia's heart raced. This was the embodiment of her fears, the culmination of the darkness that had plagued her family for generations. It was time to confront whatever lay within. The figure that emerged from the shadows was imposing, a silhouette cloaked in darkness that seemed to absorb the very light around it. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest, a primal instinct urging her to flee, but she stood her ground. This was the confrontation she had been preparing for, the moment where she would face the very essence of her fears. As the figure drew closer, Amelia could make out faint features, a face obscured by shadows, eyes gleaming like cold stars in the night. She felt the weight of its gaze upon her, a deep, unsettling presence that threatened to pull her into the depths of despair. But she recalled the strength of her ancestors, the lessons woven into her family's history. They had fought battles against their own demons, and now it was her turn. "What are you?" Amelia demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. "Why have you haunted my family?" The shadow seemed to hesitate, its form flickering as if caught in a battle between darkness and light. "I am the manifestation of the choices that have led to your family's suffering," it replied, its voice echoing like the rustling of dead leaves. "I am the unacknowledged pain, the guilt that has festered through generations. You cannot simply wish me away, Amelia. You must confront what lies within you." Amelia's breath caught in her throat. The truth of its words pierced through her defenses, exposing the fears she had kept buried for far too long. She had always felt an unshakable weight on her shoulders, a fear of failure, a longing to escape the shadows of her lineage. But here it was, personified before her, demanding acknowledgement. "Then tell me what I need to confront," she urged, desperation creeping into her voice. "I won't run from you any longer." The shadows seemed to pulse, the darkness rippling as if it were alive. "You must face the memories you have tried to forget, the moments that shaped your existence," it said. "Look into the mirror of your past. Only then will you understand the true nature of the darkness." With that, the figure extended a shadowy hand, and the air around them shifted. Amelia felt a sudden rush of memories flood her mind, images from her childhood that had been buried under layers of denial. She saw herself as a little girl, alone in her room, haunted by the whispers of her family's secrets. She remembered the nights spent lying awake, terrified by the stories her grandmother had told her, tales of curses and spirits that seemed to cling to their family like a second skin. "Look deeper," the shadow urged, its voice a haunting melody. "What do you see?" As the memories rushed forth, Amelia felt a wave of emotions crash over her. Fear, sadness, and a deep sense of longing. She remembered the time she had found her grandmother's diary, the moment she had chosen to ignore the warnings, to push away the stories of her ancestry. She had wanted a normal life, free from the weight of her family's legacy, but in doing so, she had left the darkness unchecked. "I was afraid," she admitted, tears spilling down her cheeks. I didn't want to believe. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. The shadow swirled, its form shifting and pulsating with energy. Fear has a way of festering, Amelia. It breeds more fear, and that fear manifests as darkness. You must embrace it, confront it, and then release it. With those words, the shadow morphed into a series of images, a kaleidoscope of moments from her life. She saw her family gathered around a table, laughter echoing, but beneath the surface, tension lingered, unspoken words, a weight of history that suffocated the joy. She saw her grandmother's frail figure, burdened by the weight of secrets she had never shared, the sorrow etched into her features. In the heart of the vision, Amelia found herself standing in front of a mirror, the glass fogged by uncertainty. As she wiped away the condensation, she gasped at the reflection staring back at her, a reflection that was not just her own, but a collage of her ancestors, their eyes filled with hope and despair, their stories woven into the very fabric of her being. "You are not alone," the shadow whispered, its voice softening. "You carry their strength within you. Embrace the legacy, confront the darkness, and you will find the light." Amelia's heart swelled with realization. She understood now that the darkness was not something to be feared, but a part of her journey. It was a reminder of her family's resilience, the love that had endured through the ages, despite the shadows that had threatened to consume them. Taking a step forward, she raised her chin defiantly. "I refuse to let fear dictate my life any longer. I will face the darkness, not just for me, but for my family." The shadow flickered, and for a moment, it seemed to tremble. "Very well, Amelia," it said, its voice a blend of shadows and light. "If you truly wish to confront the darkness, then you must face the truth of your choices and accept the burdens you carry." With a wave of its hand, the clearing transformed once more. The altar faded away, replaced by a vast landscape, an endless horizon filled with swirling mists that seemed to whisper secrets long forgotten. Amelia felt herself being drawn into this new realm, the air charged with anticipation. "Welcome to the realm of choices," the shadow intoned, its form shifting as it led her deeper into the mist. "Here, you will confront the echoes of your past, the choices that have shaped your present. Only by embracing them can you reclaim your power." As the mist enveloped her, Amelia felt a sense of freedom wash over her, the weight of her fears beginning to lift. She was ready to uncover the truth, to face the choices that had haunted her family for generations. Together, they stepped into the swirling mists, ready to unravel the threads of time, to confront the shadows of the past, and forge a path toward a brighter future. The swirling mists enveloped Amelia like a cloak, each step deeper into the realm of choices, drawing her further away from the familiar confines of her life. She felt both terrified and exhilarated, the air around her thick with anticipation. This was no ordinary journey. It was a path toward understanding the very essence of her existence, the choices made by those who came before her, and the weight of those decisions upon her shoulders. As the fog began to clear, Amelia found herself standing on a precipice overlooking a vast valley. Below, she could see myriad paths branching off in every direction, each one shimmering with its own unique light. They glimmered like threads of fate, interwoven with the choices of her ancestors, stretching back through generations. Each path represents a choice made by your family, the shadow intoned, now more of a guide than an ominous presence. Some led to joy, while others paved the way for pain. You must walk along these paths and confront the moments that shaped your legacy. Amelia took a deep breath, her heart racing with both excitement and trepidation. "Where do I begin?" she asked, scanning the landscape for a sign. "Follow the path that calls to you," the shadow replied. "Each choice will reveal a truth about your lineage, about the darkness you seek to confront." With determination, Amelia stepped toward the nearest path, its light warm and inviting. As she began to walk, the scenery around her transformed, the landscape shifting to reflect a moment from her grandmother's past. She found herself in a modest living room, the scent of baked goods wafting through the air. Her grandmother, a younger version of herself, was seated at the table, embroidering a delicate cloth, her face serene yet burdened. In the corner, Amelia noticed a framed photo of a woman who looked strikingly similar to her, a woman she recognized from the family albums. "This is the day she received the locket," the shadow explained, its voice echoing in her mind. "A gift passed down through generations, a token of love and remembrance." But this moment was also tainted by fear. Amelia leaned closer, captivated by the scene. Suddenly, the front door swung open, and a figure stepped inside. Her great-grandfather, his face lined with worry. Amelia felt an unease ripple through the room as he approached her grandmother, the tension palpable. "Evelyn, we must talk," he said, his voice tight with concern. "It's time to discuss the curse. We can't keep this a secret any longer." Amelia's heart raced. She remembered her grandmother mentioning the curse in her diary, the same curse that had haunted their family. As she observed the confrontation unfold, she felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Evelyn's hands trembled as she set down the embroidery. "If we acknowledge it, we give it power, Robert. I won't allow fear to control our lives. This is just a story, a ghost from the past." "But it's not just a story," he insisted, his voice rising. "People have suffered because of it. We must confront it together." The scene flickered, revealing a heated exchange as fear and love battled for dominance. Amelia felt her grandmother's anguish, the pain of holding onto a legacy of darkness while desperately trying to protect her family. The air crackled with unspoken words and suppressed emotions, and she could almost feel the tension in the room. Suddenly, the vision shifted again, and Amelia found herself standing in front of a mirror, reflecting the scene from a new angle. She saw herself, but not just as a spectator. She was also part of the narrative, a young girl filled with innocence and hope, unaware of the burden of the family legacy that would soon rest on her shoulders. "Do you see the choice?" the shadow whispered, urging her to look closer. "Evelyn chose to shield you from the truth, but in doing so, she unknowingly allowed the darkness to fester. Fear held her captive, just as it does you." Tears streamed down Amelia's cheeks as she absorbed the weight of her grandmother's choices. The desire to protect her family had come at a price, a silence that allowed the darkness to persist, to entwine itself around the heart of their lineage. "I understand," Amelia said softly, her voice breaking. "She was trying to protect me, to spare me from the pain, but in doing so, she let it linger." The shadow nodded, its form shifting like smoke. "The burden of secrets can be heavy, but they must be acknowledged to be released. Now, you must make your own choice." With a deep breath, Amelia stepped forward, extending her hand toward her grandmother's younger self. "You don't have to bear this alone," she said, her voice steady. "Together, we can face the truth." As her hand touched the surface of the mirror, a wave of warmth enveloped her. The scene began to dissolve, and Amelia felt herself being pulled into the depths of her grandmother's memory. She was now standing beside Evelyn, the weight of their shared legacy resting on her shoulders. "Let's confront the darkness together," Amelia said, her heart swelling with newfound courage. "It's time to break the cycle." In that moment, the room transformed, shadows stretching and twisting around them as the remnants of fear began to evaporate. Together, they faced a reflection of their family's history, ready to dismantle the barriers that had kept them from the truth. The darkness shimmered before them, taking on a more tangible form, a swirling mass of grief and regret. "You cannot escape me," it hissed, echoing with the voices of those who had suffered before them. "I am woven into your very essence." "Not anymore," Amelia declared, her voice unwavering. "We acknowledge you, but you do not define us. You will not control our legacy." With those words, she felt a surge of strength coursing through her, the warmth of her grandmother's love enveloping her like a shield. Together, they stood firm against the swirling darkness, determined to reclaim their family's story. As the darkness writhed and twisted, Amelia and Evelyn joined hands, channeling their collective strength into a beam of light that pierced through the shadows. The air crackled with energy as they pushed against the darkness, their united resolve becoming an unstoppable force. With a final, deafening roar, the darkness began to disintegrate, the echoes of pain and fear dissipating into the ether. The swirling mass transformed into wisps of smoke, swirling around them before vanishing into the night. Amelia and Evelyn stood together in the newfound light, the weight of their ancestors' choices lifting from their shoulders. The air was filled with a sense of relief and liberation, as if the burden of the past had been lifted, leaving space for new beginnings. "Thank you," Amelia whispered, turning to her grandmother's younger self, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Together, we've broken the cycle." Evelyn smiled, a radiant light shining in her eyes. "You are the keeper of our legacy now, Amelia. Carry our story forward with love, and do not be afraid to confront the truth." As the light enveloped them, Amelia felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The darkness had been acknowledged, confronted, and ultimately released. She had taken her first steps toward reclaiming her family's legacy, paving the way for a brighter future. With her heart full of hope, she took a deep breath, ready to face whatever awaited her next. The air shimmered around Amelia as the light receded, leaving her standing in the center of a dimly lit room filled with shadows. She had felt the weight of her family's past lift, but now she was faced with a new challenge. The momentary peace they had created together was merely a precursor to the storm she knew was coming. As she steadied herself, she found herself in a space reminiscent of her childhood, her grandmother's attic, where countless boxes held the relics of their family's history. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light that pierced through the cobweb-covered windows, and the air was thick with nostalgia and the scent of aged paper. The shadow that had guided her through the memories was now a palpable presence, shifting restlessly in the corners of the attic. "You are close to uncovering the heart of the truth," it said, its voice echoing with a weighty urgency. "But be prepared. What lies ahead may shake you to your core." Amelia approached the nearest box, its lid partially ajar, revealing a glimpse of its contents. With a deep breath, she lifted the lid and peered inside. Among the worn photographs and fragile letters lay an old journal, its leather cover cracked and faded. Her heart raced as she recognized the familiar handwriting, her grandmother's. "This is it," she murmured, her fingers trembling as she extracted the journal from the box. "This is where she recorded everything." With each page she turned, Amelia felt the gravity of her grandmother's experiences weighing down upon her. The entries detailed not only joyful memories, but also the struggles, fears, and heartaches that had shaped her grandmother's life. Suddenly, a passage caught her eye, a letter addressed to Amelia herself. The handwriting was different, jagged and erratic, as if written in haste. It read, "To my dearest Amelia, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer here to guide you. I have kept many secrets to protect you, but some truths cannot remain hidden. You must seek the key to understanding our family's darkness and confront it. Do not be afraid of what you may find. It is essential for your freedom. Trust in the love that surrounds you, and remember that you are stronger than the shadows that haunt us. Love always, Grandma Evelyn." Amelia's heart raced as she processed the implications of the letter. Her grandmother had known the burden of secrets would eventually pass to her, but she had chosen to prepare Amelia for this moment, even from beyond the grave. "I must find a key," she whispered, her resolve hardening. "But what is the key?" The shadow moved closer, its presence both comforting and foreboding. "The key lies not in an object, but in the truth that binds your family together. You must delve deeper into the past, confront the lingering fears, and discover the truth hidden within the shadows." With newfound determination, Amelia began to rummage through the boxes, her fingers brushing against forgotten relics of family history. Old photographs, trinkets, and letters that told stories of love, loss, and resilience. Each item held a fragment of her lineage, a piece of the puzzle she was desperate to complete. As she sifted through the contents of the attic, one item stood out, a small wooden box, intricately carved with swirling patterns. It seemed to emanate an aura of significance, as if it had been waiting for her all along. Amelia lifted the box from its resting place, feeling its weight in her hands. With a deep breath, she opened the lid. Inside, she found a delicate silver key resting atop a bed of faded velvet. "This must be it," she exclaimed, her heart racing with excitement. The key to our family's secrets. But as she held the key, a sudden chill swept through the attic, and the shadows deepened, swirling ominously around her. The air grew heavy with tension, and Amelia sensed that the confrontation was far from over. "You have found the key," the shadow murmured, its voice laced with a haunting resonance. "But unlocking the truth will not be easy. The shadows will fight to remain hidden." Amelia clenched the key tightly, her resolve unyielding. "I am ready. I won't back down." With the key in hand, she knew she had to confront the core of the darkness that had plagued her family for generations. The attic faded around her, the walls melting into a swirling vortex of light and shadow as she felt herself being pulled deeper into the web of her family's past. She landed in a dimly lit room, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. In front of her stood a door, its frame carved with intricate designs that mirrored the patterns on the box. The keyhole glimmered invitingly, beckoning her closer. Amelia approached the door, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the moment she had been preparing for. With trembling hands, she inserted the key and turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a room bathed in ethereal light. Inside, she found a circular table surrounded by the spectral figures of her ancestors, their faces etched with expressions of hope and sorrow. They were bound by the choices they had made, each one a reflection of the decisions that had led them to this moment. As she stepped inside, the figures turned to her, their eyes filled with an intensity that made her heart race. "Welcome, Amelia," they spoke in unison, their voices intertwining like a haunting melody. "You have come to confront the shadows of our past. It is time to unearth the truths that have long remained buried." Amelia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their collective history pressing down on her. "I am ready to listen," she replied, her voice steady. One figure, a woman with kind eyes and an air of strength, stepped forward. "I am your great-great-grandmother, Isabel. I have carried the burden of our family's secrets for too long. It is time to share the truth." Amelia felt a rush of emotions as the realization sank in. She was not alone in this journey. Her ancestors were here to guide her, to help her navigate the darkness that had plagued their lineage. As the figures began to recount their stories, Amelia listened intently, absorbing the painful and beautiful truths that had shaped their lives. Each story revealed a facet of their shared history, a tapestry woven with love, loss, and the enduring strength to face adversity. "Together, we can break the chains that bind us to the past," Isabel said, her voice filled with conviction. "But you must be willing to confront the shadows that still linger." Amelia nodded, determination surging within her. "I will face them, no matter what it takes. I refuse to let fear dictate our future." The room trembled with anticipation as her ancestors prepared to reveal the final secrets, the truths that would unlock the door to her family's liberation. Amelia could feel the shadows lurking just beyond the edges of the light, waiting to resist her every step. But she had come too far to turn back now. She was ready to confront whatever awaited her in the darkness. As the air shimmered with anticipation, Amelia felt the weight of her ancestors' gaze upon her, their collective hope resting in her hands. The light in the room brightened, casting away the shadows that had clung to her family for generations. She stood resolutely, the silver key still clutched tightly, a tangible reminder of her purpose. Isabel, her great-great-grandmother, gestured for Amelia to take her place at the center of the circular table. "This is where our truths converge," she said, her voice steady yet imbued with an undeniable urgency. "You have uncovered the key, but now you must unlock the deepest secrets that have been hidden from our family." Amelia took a deep breath, her heart racing as she prepared herself for what lay ahead. The room around her pulsed with energy, each ancestor brimming with stories that had remained untold. She could feel the tension in the air, a mixture of fear and hope, as they began to weave their narratives. The first to speak was a man with weary eyes, her great-grandfather, Thomas. "Our family has always been intertwined with darkness, Amelia. It began long before your time, in a place where betrayal and greed led to unimaginable loss. I was the last to witness the consequences of those choices, but it is you who must face the truth." Amelia nodded, urging him to continue. "Tell me everything. Thomas's voice trembled as he recounted the tale of a family feud that had escalated into a cycle of vengeance. Long ago, two branches of our family clashed over a land dispute. The animosity grew, fueled by pride and anger. It led to a tragic night, one filled with bloodshed that has haunted us ever since. I was just a boy, but I remember the fear that gripped our home. My father was taken from us that night, and the shadows that followed have never left. Amelia felt the heaviness of his words settle in her heart. She could almost see the faces of her ancestors, their eyes clouded with pain. But how do I confront this darkness? How do I break the cycle? Another figure stepped forward, a woman with fierce determination in her eyes. I am Clara, your great-aunt. I witnessed the aftermath of that night and the destruction it wrought. Our family became fragmented, each member carrying their own burdens, their own regrets. But it was not just the feud that bound us to the past. It was the fear of confronting the truth. We hid from it, allowing the shadows to grow. Amelia's mind raced as she processed their stories. So, it's not just the actions of the past that haunt us, but our unwillingness to face them? What do I need to do? Isabel's voice rose above the others, filled with urgency. You must reclaim your family's narrative, Amelia. Only by acknowledging our pain can we hope to heal. There is a hidden truth in the depths of our history, a truth that must be unearthed if we are to finally break free from the chains of the past. The room dimmed momentarily, as if the shadows were resisting their revelations. Amelia felt a chill seep into her bones. What hidden truth? What must I face? The air around them shifted, and a portal began to form behind the table, a swirling vortex of light and shadow, drawing Amelia's attention. That door leads to the heart of our family's darkness, Clara explained, her expression a mix of trepidation and resolve. Only by stepping through can you confront the true source of our pain. Gathering her courage, Amelia took a step toward the swirling portal, feeling the gravity of the moment settle heavily upon her. I'm ready, she declared, her voice firm despite the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. With her ancestors surrounding her, lending their strength, she stepped through the portal. Amelia found herself in a desolate landscape, a barren wasteland where the air crackled with an unsettling energy. The sky was an ominous shade of gray, and the ground was littered with remnants of forgotten dreams and lost hopes. She felt a cold wind sweep past her, carrying whispers of the past that echoed through the empty expanse. Welcome to the Forgotten Realm. A voice boomed, reverberating through the desolation. Amelia spun around to face a figure shrouded in shadows, its features obscured. I am the guardian of secrets, and this is where the truths of your family lie buried. Amelia steeled herself. I've come to confront the darkness that has plagued my family. I seek the truth. The guardian laughed, a hollow, echoing sound that sent chills down her spine. Truth? Such a fragile concept. Are you prepared to face the darkest corners of your family's history? You may not like what you discover. I'm willing to face anything, Amelia replied, determination blazing within her. It's time to confront the shadows. The guardian gestured, and the ground shifted, revealing a series of sepulchres etched with names and dates, each one a representation of a family member lost to the darkness. Amelia's heart sank as she recognized the names, each one a reminder of the pain and loss that had been passed down through the generations. Each of these sepulchres holds a memory, a truth that has been shrouded in darkness, the guardian said. You must choose one to unlock, to confront the pain and bring it into the light. Amelia stepped forward, her heart racing as she scanned the sepulchres. One in particular caught her eye, a small, unassuming grave marked with the name of her great-grandmother, Margaret. She felt an inexplicable pull toward it, a deep-seated desire to uncover the truth behind her name. I choose this one, she said, her voice resolute. With a wave of the guardian's hand, the sepulchre opened, and Amelia was enveloped in a rush of memories, images swirling around her, each one more vivid than the last. She saw her great-grandmother as a young woman, vibrant and full of life, but also as a figure marred by sorrow. Amelia felt the weight of her great-grandmother's pain as she witnessed her struggles and the sacrifices she had made to protect her family. She saw moments of joy overshadowed by grief, birthdays celebrated in silence, holidays haunted by absence. The shadows of loss enveloped Margaret, but through it all, she fought fiercely to keep her family together. "Margaret, why did you carry this burden alone?" Amelia whispered, feeling the sorrow swell within her. Suddenly, a vision broke through the haze. A confrontation between Margaret and a figure cloaked in darkness, a man whose face was obscured by rage. Amelia felt her heart race as the man's words pierced through the memories. "You have no right to protect them. They will pay for your choices." Amelia's breath caught in her throat as realization washed over her. "This is the source of our family's pain," she murmured. The fear of the past repeating itself, the struggle for survival amidst darkness. Margaret's voice echoed through the vision, filled with resolve. "I will protect my family, no matter the cost." As the vision faded, Amelia was left standing before the sepulchre, her heart pounding with the weight of the truth she had just uncovered. She understood now. The pain had been passed down through generations, but it was not meant to shackle her. Instead, it was a reminder of the strength that lay within her lineage. Turning to the guardian, Amelia felt a surge of power. "I'm ready to embrace the truth, to break the cycle of fear that has haunted us." The guardian nodded, a glimmer of approval in its shadowy eyes. "Embrace the light, Amelia. Your family's legacy does not have to be defined by darkness." With that, Amelia felt a warmth envelop her, a soft glow that dispelled the shadows. She took a deep breath, feeling the burdens of her ancestors begin to lift. The desolate landscape faded away, replaced by the warm glow of the circular room filled with her ancestors. They smiled at her, their faces filled with pride. "You have confronted the darkness," Isabel said, her voice resonating with approval. "You have the strength to carry our truth forward." Amelia's heart swelled with love and determination. "I will honor your memories, and I will ensure that our family's legacy is defined by resilience, not fear." The air shimmered with energy as her ancestors gathered around her, their spirits intertwined, ready to face the future together. The shadows that had haunted their lineage began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of hope and unity. As Amelia prepared to leave the realm, she turned back to the guardian, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you for guiding me through this." The guardian nodded solemnly. "The shadows may linger, but you now hold the light. Carry it with you, and remember that truth, no matter how painful, has the power to heal." With one last look at the realm of her ancestors, Amelia stepped through the portal once more, ready to embrace the truth and confront whatever challenges awaited her in the world beyond. As Amelia stepped back into her own world, she felt the lingering warmth of her ancestors' love wrap around her like a comforting blanket. The portal closed behind her with a soft shimmer, leaving her in the familiar, yet transformed space of her childhood home. The air was charged with a new energy, one that spoke of hope and renewal. Amelia looked around her room, which was filled with the remnants of her past. Pictures of family, trinkets from her childhood, and the old diary that had set her on this path. The diary, once a source of confusion and fear, now felt like a testament to her family's journey. It was a bridge connecting her to the struggles and victories of those who came before her. She placed the diary on her desk, determined to continue documenting her family's story, not just the dark chapters, but also the resilience and love that had emerged from them. It was time to create a narrative that embraced both the light and the shadows. As she sat down, Amelia felt a sense of purpose surging through her veins. She opened the diary to a fresh page and began to write, her pen gliding effortlessly across the paper. "This is a new beginning," she scribbled, "a time to heal and to honor those who came before me." With each word, she felt the weight of the past beginning to lift. The memories she had uncovered in the forgotten realm no longer felt like chains binding her. Instead, they became stepping stones leading her toward a brighter future. Amelia's hand moved quickly as she recounted her experiences, weaving together the tales of her ancestors with her own revelations. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, pulling her attention away from the page. It was a message from her best friend, Olivia. "Hey, are we still on for a hike tomorrow? I can't wait to catch up." Amelia smiled, feeling the warmth of friendship flooding her heart. Absolutely, she typed back. I've got so much to share. The thought of spending time with Olivia filled her with excitement, reminding her that life continued outside the shadows. Tomorrow, she would reconnect with the world, carrying her newfound understanding with her. The legacy of her family wouldn't be a burden, but a source of strength. As night fell, Amelia took a moment to reflect on everything she had learned. She glanced out the window at the stars twinkling in the sky, each one a reminder of the countless souls who had walked before her. "Thank you," she whispered, feeling the presence of her ancestors beside her. "I promise to honor your truth and create a future filled with love and light." In the days that followed, Amelia embraced her newfound clarity. She reached out to family members, sharing her journey and encouraging them to confront their own truths. Together, they began to heal, forging stronger bonds through the shared understanding of their past. Amelia also dedicated time to documenting her family's history, interviewing relatives, gathering stories, and creating a family tree that celebrated not just the struggles, but also the triumphs. Each discovery brought her closer to her roots, weaving a tapestry of resilience that spanned generations. One evening, as she sat at her desk surrounded by photographs and notes, a thought struck her. What if she could create a community space where others could share their stories too? Inspired by her journey, she envisioned a local group dedicated to storytelling and healing, a place where people could come together to confront their pasts and celebrate their legacies. With newfound determination, Amelia set to work organizing the first meeting. She created flyers and reached out to local community centers, sharing her vision. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and soon, she was preparing for the first gathering of Stories Unbound. On the day of the first meeting, Amelia felt a rush of nervous excitement as she set up the space. The room filled with familiar faces and new ones, each person eager to share their stories. As they gathered in a circle, Amelia felt the energy shift. It was a space charged with vulnerability and strength, a testament to the healing power of connection. As the evening unfolded, she shared her own story, detailing her journey through the shadows into the light. The room was silent, wrapped with attention as she spoke of her ancestors, the lessons she had learned, and the promise she had made to carry their legacy forward. One by one, others began to share their own experiences, tales of hardship, loss, and triumph. Laughter mingled with tears as they connected over shared experiences and unique challenges. Amelia watched as the room transformed, each story weaving into the next, creating a rich tapestry of human experience. By the end of the night, as they gathered for a group hug, Amelia felt an overwhelming sense of joy and fulfillment. She realized that she had not only embraced her family's truth, but had also created a space for others to do the same. The shadows that once threatened to engulf her had become sources of light, guiding her toward connection and understanding. As weeks turned into months, Stories Unbound blossomed into a thriving community. People from all walks of life came together to share their narratives, and the bonds forged within that room grew deeper with each meeting. Amelia's vision had blossomed into something far greater than she had imagined, a collective journey of healing and empowerment. On the anniversary of her great-grandmother Margaret's passing, Amelia organized a special meeting dedicated to honoring the family legacy. She invited her relatives to share memories of Margaret, and as they gathered to remember the woman who had fought so fiercely for her family, Amelia felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. With each story shared, Amelia lit a candle in memory of her ancestors, allowing their light to fill the room. As she listened to her family recount their experiences, she felt their presence surround her, a warm embrace of love and support. In that moment, she understood that the past, while filled with pain, could also be a wellspring of strength and resilience. The truth she had uncovered was not just her own, but a shared legacy that would continue to inspire generations to come. As the evening came to a close, Amelia stood before her family and friends, feeling a profound sense of connection. "We carry the light of our ancestors within us," she said, her voice steady and full of emotion. "Together, we will honor their truth and create a future defined by love, courage, and unity." The room erupted in applause, and Amelia felt tears of joy streaming down her face. She had transformed her family's narrative from one of darkness to one of hope, and in doing so, she had also discovered her own strength. In the years that followed, Amelia continued to lead Stories Unbound, each meeting a celebration of resilience and the power of shared experiences. She remained committed to documenting her family's history, ensuring that the truth would never be forgotten. As she looked to the future, she knew that the shadows would always linger, but they no longer held her captive. Instead, they served as a reminder of the strength she possessed, a light that would guide her through life's challenges. And in the quiet moments, when the wind whispered through her backyard, Amelia could almost hear the voices of her ancestors echoing through the trees, reminding her that she was never alone. As the final words of the chapter flowed from her pen, Amelia closed the diary with a sense of fulfillment. She had confronted the past, honored her family's legacy, and embraced the light that came from understanding the truth. The journey had changed her, and she knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with courage and compassion. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents.